Listening to music, meh. Riding motorcycles, okay, bad boy. And then he closes with a banger, Housekeeping.
What?
This is the Imperial Schools of Honor podcast. I am Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we are going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are hopelessly digging through our toy boxes, trying to find the little red discs for our Destro action figures, spring-loaded razor-sharp armor-cutting disc launcher, so we can get our Joe set up and ready to go before Nintendo Power Issue 23 hits our mailboxes, which we are reading through today. That issue will be in the show notes and can be found on archive.org if you want to look at the shit we're looking at. And please rate and review the podcast. If you feel so inclined to leave feedback in the form of a review, we'll read it here on the pod as long as it makes us feel good and or laugh. What are we jamming on now, Jay? What are you jamming on now? I want to know what about, actually. Is it Skyrim, kind of, or no?
So, I think you're going to come to that conclusion just based on how I explain it. I gotta say, it feels a lot like ESO. Like, it feels very much like that in terms of the fact that it is a very much an open world RPG, but your choices do matter. Like, how you put skill points in different attributes actually matters to the story and what options you have that drive those story choices. So it's much more deep RPG than I'm used to, but the gameplay, the battling, the fighting is so satisfying at the same time. Like, you can have two different preset just setups. So I have one which is like my full magical setup, which, you know, of course I'm going to be a magical dude. I always am. We've talked about that over and over. Whenever there's an RPG, I'm going to be a wizard elementalist of some sort. But then I can swap to my like sword and board, you know, and that's fun to be able to like swap really quick during battle.
Sword and board, huh? That's fucking. I've never heard that lingo before. Sword and board.
Yeah,
that's
man.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
Is that game specific, or is that just fantasy video game nerd?
No,
vernacular.
That's
general?
definitely vernacular from ESO. You know, because
Okay.
when you're in that sense, you're talking about a tank, because you want your tank to have a sword and shield, because the shield is what you use to buff and block.
Oh, I connected the dots, Jay. You don't need to explain it.
For all the listeners, in case.
I'm just, yeah, exactly right. The less versed listeners, I understand. Not for me, though. But no, I've never heard it. I like it.
But yeah,
I've never heard it before.
It's a blast.
I feel like I'm surprised I have never heard it. That's because it is such an easy thing, rhyming thing, no less, to go with. So I just can't believe I've never heard it.
Glad I could drop some knowledge on you today. But yeah, this game is so fun, man. The gameplay is satisfying. The story, Courtney's playing it too. She really loves the story. She's deep into it. I'm reading far more lore books and stuff than I would ever read in ESO, and I played ESO for years and years.
It's like a plague. I've heard it's like there's like a plague going on, right? That's the story, the main overarching idea.
Yeah, there's something like that going, and so I don't want to spoil it, but the story, even I'm not even fully following it yet, but it's good enough. And again, the gameplay is so good, and like you have your multiple companions that you're bringing along, and like you're leveling them up as well. The graphics are great, you know, as you would expect, you'd hope for. And yeah, it's great. And the funny thing is, I say all this, and I've never played Pillars of Eternity. So like, I'm not, you know, this is in the same universe of that. You know, if you like that, if you like that game, then
I tried to play it a long time ago, but it was fucking steep.
Oh yeah,
steep. It's kind of I think the same, you know, I've tried to, I don't know, psychoanalyze why Baldur's Gate 3, I just, even God knows how many hours into it, I was just like, I just can't put that game on anymore. I can't play that game anymore. And it's like, it's just too deep, I think, which is crazy to me that there is some threshold where I'm like, it's too much.
Right.
You know, as far as like, I don't know, depth to an RPG. But there's something about like that, like, Baldur's Gate has it. Post Attorney had it.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny, whatever the fuck it was called, the predecessors from the company that did Baldur's Gate. What the fuck were those called?
I was about to say Destiny of Eternity. That's not what it was called.
Right, exactly. Whatever.
We know what we're talking about. Played it.
Yeah. That one actually was a little less so because you were kind of incentivized to maybe zoom in at times. But anyways, my whole point being that like really, really pulled out top-down gameplay UI.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think that's what it is. Like, that's my best guess as to why I can't stay invested in those games, because I don't actually get into it. You know, you're not into the action, you know? And I don't need, like, fucking really crazy battle mechanics, but I need to be in there and, like, experiencing that, whatever is happening to these characters I'm supposed to be with. That, like, really pulled out thing, like, if it's fucking, I gotta spend 100 hours in that, I just don't have I don't know. That kind of depth and that kind of UI, I bounce off of it for some reason or another. So,
well, it's a good thing.
Skyrim. That's what I've been yelling about Skyrim for fucking a decade.
It's a good thing that this doesn't have that. Like, you are in first person. Like, your hands are right there. You can actually right stick and zoom out so that you can see yourself, you know, third person. But first person, I feel like that's the way to go. Like, it's far more enjoyable and immersive to play that way.
Hey, man, I'm sure VR a mod is right around the corner on that. So.
I would think so, man. Like I said, it's really good. And to your point about games being deep, I know there's definitely been a game I played, and even I think I pulled up Conan the Barbarian because it was hot at the time, and I looked at that game and a similar game and I was like, man, there's too much here. Like, I can't, like. No, like
I need a tutorial. I literally need someone to come over and walk me through the first 3 hours.
Right, like I don't have time for this much reading and this much like depth knowledge, figuring things out. Like, I want to play as well. This is not. So I think
Pillars of Eternity was. Oh god, there was so much reading, dude. It was like. I mean, those games are fucking old too, so that was part of it. But I just remember like, oh my god, fuck, and I do care, but I didn't care there. I was like, fuck off, let's go. And you could not click through them fast enough, and there were just so many, and it was just an overwhelming amount of information to deal with.
Yeah, I think to that point, this does a good job of like lessening that, so you're not as much like, oh my gosh, all the stuff. It's like, no, okay, here's some stuff. You're going to talk a bit. Okay, now you're going to fight in battle, and it's going to be tough, and you got to figure stuff out. So I think it does a great job of balancing that. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's on Game Pass. In addition to that, man, I've been playing a whole lot of college football, like so much college football. I'm finally getting good, man. Like, after 2 terrible seasons, Jerry Bax, the head coach of the Miami Redhawks, is turning it around.
Are you guys playing accelerated seasons are you like
we're
going
playing
through
Dynasty?
new years?
So yeah. This is the 3rd year of my contract. Every game of last year, they kept talking about me being on the hot seat. I was like, man, am I going to get fired from the?
If you get fired, do you have to leave?
I don't know. I don't know.
That would be amazing. Like, just you literally, it's kind of like you would have to have. It's obviously just a digital equivalent, but the walk into the coach's office moment, where you're like, the GM's like, so it's man, I'm like, okay, now it's a bummer. You got to go.
Right? Thankfully, we will not have that this season, Josh, because the Redhawks are 2-0 after dominating Florida Atlantic in the first game in a user match, feeling good. 2 national players of the week, 1 Big Ten player of the week on defense. We won against Iowa by 1
Miami,
point.
Ohio's in the Big Ten now?
What's that?
Miami, Ohio's in the Big Ten now?
We can do that in the game. Like, we do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we realigned it. So what happened was, like, you had to start the league like 2-star or something, like in a really low school. So hence why I was playing a max school. After the first season, they're like, hey, do you want to move up to the Big Ten? Because a couple of the guys who were in those smaller leagues were good at this point, because I didn't play the first season with them. They were good, and they wanted to like realign, move up to the Big Ten, and play better competition each week. So I was just like, sure, that'll help me get better recruits, even though I am stuck at this game. So the first season, terrible, man. I lost every game but one. It was bad.
I don't know.
It was bad.
I don't think I could sit and deal with that, dude.
But
I don't think I could.
I like playing it so much, though. That's the thing. Like, I could win other online matches, but like this, so pretty much I had to like nerd out a bit. really go save a bunch of like favorite plays because you're limited to the amount of plays you can use, amount of times you can use a play in a game. So like there's been times when I've run out at the end of the game and I can't keep exploiting this one spot of the defense because there's not enough plays I know that like can hit that, and then I would lose, you know. So I had to like go deep into the playbook, practice a bunch of plays, favorite a bunch of plays. And after that,
I mean, it should be that's dumb. I think it should be, yes, if you were spamming a play, there should be both AI and things a human player can exploit to be like, that's dumb and like make you pay for it. But the idea that's just like, nope, can't do it is
no. That is a user selected thing. Like the guys who set up the league decided like you're not going to use a play more than 4 times in a game maximum. Okay. So like there was a couple different versions of a play,
and you're able to put that into the game so it actually won't let you, or it's just
you can. It's a user select option. So like there's like a ticker like. And there's like a cooldown, so after you use that play, I gotta wait like 4 plays before I can use it again. So it's like, ugh. So there's like all these little things you can build in to make people like.
What that sounds to me like is like those crossing patterns in Tecmo, in the original Tecmo. You just can't stop them. There's no, which means the game. I'm sad to hear that a game can still be made where it's the numbers are just undefensible or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to go stand in that spot and just, like, pick that shit off.
You can. Like, the game is very hard. That's the point. But I think, like, these guys specifically, now that I've been in the league with them for a few seasons, like, they're really good. They play a lot of football. So they intentionally made it harder. They use sliders like that to make things harder, like, in addition to this play calling stuff. Like, they made it so that it's basically harder than it would be otherwise. So in addition to like me getting better playing against that, like we started me and the guys I know who are also in that league started a different like league without all those sliders. So I'm just playing it straight up. So that's fun as well. So I'm 2-1 in that league. I'm 2-0 in the harder league because I beat Iowa by 1 point, blocked an extra point. Amazing victory. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, that's
a lot of time spent. It feels like winning a real game, Josh. Like I can't even tell you, man. Like there's so much time and thought I put into practicing these freaking plays because it's so much harder in that league to actually win a game. I was like, yeah,
played humans. I'm sure, especially if you have like that was like, I mean, it's been, buddy, a while since I was playing a Madden franchise, but like obviously it's funny. You spend a stupid ass amount of time and like even in those dumbass just against bad AI no less situations, I can't imagine actual humans and like how much more difficult that is for one, but two in turn how much more investment both emotionally and intellectually it requires to actually be a participant. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can totally imagine. Like I said, I can totally see myself being into that. But fuck sports. I can't even remember to watch this Cavs game, dude. I didn't watch the Cavs game. They played the Knicks last night. I hate the fucking Knicks.
They dominated the Knicks.
They beat the shit out of them. I know. I fucking would have loved to watch. It was on ESPN. I would have loved to watch that game. I put them in my calendar. I have iCal notifications telling me to watch them. I still don't think to do it or notice they bother to pay attention. I'm like that off sports. Like that Bills Chiefs game broke me, bro. I am like. I am so off sports. It's crazy.
I never thought we would get to this place. On the flip side, I'm like, Ohio State won, so I'm like, yeah, sports are great. Let's see what happens. What's going on in the NBA?
That's what I mean. It's not a healthy thing to have in your life to like be on that emotional roller coaster and care about something that meaningless. It's not healthy. It's so much better. I've been able to do it the past few seasons. I've been able to like into the season. I'm like nothing. Like delete all the podcasts. I'm not even getting I don't even see them. I'm definitely not doing that in-season fucking 12 hours a day Bills radio shit, All that stuff goes away. I've been able to do that the past few years, but like I'm not even paying it. I don't like nothing, dude. Like I went and looked for it. He might be full of shit or a moron, but a friend of mine told me that Josh Allen had signed a contract extension, or maybe he just was saying that it's like in the works and everyone knows the parameters, but I was like, I had no idea. And like the idea that I wouldn't know anything about Josh Allen seconds after it occurs, or even is rumored, is like a tectonic shift in
right.
my life and media consumption.
I don't even know what to think. Like, did someone replace you? Like, is this like?
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Are you the real Josh?
It's so much better. I hate NFL football. I hate it so much. The fact I am addicted to it and consume it the way I do is so unhealthy.
It'd be much better if you're an Ohio State fan. Things are typically great, bro.
I don't even know. Say that with the EA. I don't even know how you can begin to care about a team that just beats everyone by 47 until the last 2-3 games. Like, I don't even know how you can begin to care about that. Like, that's why that's why the Bills, that's why it's like this. It's because, like, I've invested 35 years into this incredibly difficult endeavor. If they had just been pummeling teams the last 35 years, I don't think I would.
Hey, but I've only seen 3 national championships in my lifetime, but I've also seen 3 national championships, so it's been awesome, you know. I've been to so many games. I think just growing up in Columbus, it's just been ingrained, you know what I mean? And then
the formative years thing for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
And then being able to run track there briefly for 1 year, exciting, cool. But yeah, I don't know. There's still something until now that was always about the amateurism and the fact that like the dudes are just playing like this is their last hurrah, and then football's over.
That's always been bullshit, though.
I know, but like you could kind of like. You kind of like...
The ones who actually matter are playing for the paycheck. They're just not getting it yet back then.
Right.
And that it's always been exactly what it is now. It's just the system is slightly rejiggered
now it's just out
to be
there.
less...
Just like...
To be less bullshit. Yeah. And actually, even then, they were getting paid. It was just...
Oh, we know they were because we...
Yeah, it's not above board. Yeah, no, it's always that's all. I've always thought that like you get even more of that in college basketball. Like, oh, they're just playing for fuck you. No, they're not. Like, yes, there are more dickhead white boys that are not going to be playing in the NBA on the team. Sure, that maybe are just out there to play basketball because they know they're not going anywhere. But get the fuck out of here. The players that you're actually watching are 100%. Playing for a paycheck. Get fucked. So yeah, that I just could not believe that's ever been an argument to me.
But still, at the same time though, even if you were playing for a paycheck, you're hoping those paychecks continue. And only for 24 of them do they continue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's kind of just, so there's still that level of just like, this is my last hurrah, I gotta go hard, maybe I can get there, can I get drafted? Hope. You know, which for everybody else,
a little bit. I mean, there's a little bit more desperation, I guess, could be argued because they haven't gotten the really big paycheck yet.
Right.
But I mean, especially now, it's so business-fied that the really blue chippers, they're in there. So a lot of them are mailing it in too, man.
Now
they know. Like, I have the physical ability. I'm getting drafted. I'm going to make millions of dollars. If it's $8 million or $10 million. Do I really give a fuck? Nope.
But it might. For a lot of people, it will, though. It'll be like, yep, I'll absolutely take it.
For some, yes. But there are plenty of motherfuckers. There are plenty of motherfuckers that it's just a means to an end. And that is present in college, too.
Fair. But I also, again, I grew up in Columbus. I went to Ohio State. I'm an alum, you know what I mean? Versus a team that I just happen to live there in that city. You know what I mean? So it's harder. It's been harder for me. It's been the reverse. Easier for me to stick with Ohio State versus moving from Columbus to New York to where, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's moving, I don't know. Again, to me, it's all about the emotional investment. Like, the idea of changing teams in your life. Like, I mean, why?
Yeah.
If you're doing that, I mean, I don't know, whatever. It's different strokes. It's just I am not a healthy and emotionally well-rounded, healthy individual, especially in this realm, but period, to be speaking on this or telling anyone what they should be doing with their lives. So I'll just stop. But it's crazy to me that you could just be like, oh, I care about this team now. Like, what? Like,
no,
how do you even
I'm not
begin
saying
to...
that. I will still...
Yeah, I know you're not. I'm just saying like
cheer
that.
For the Yankees. I will always cheer for the Yankees. As much
the whole
as
premise of that is crazy. Anyways, I can't imagine this is fucking what anyone tuning into this podcast gives a fuck about. Maybe, I don't know. We probably got some sports bros. That's definitely in our fucking bandwidth. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a little bit more Marvel vs. Capcom collection. I beat the Punisher with my son. I was the Punisher. He was Nick Fury. Old school white Nick Fury, but they were pretty cool in that game. very much like a side-scrolling beat 'em up in the vein of Fatal Fury. It's really good, actually. It was really fun. I don't know why. I feel like I've never even heard of that or played that game back in the day.
That's something I have never thought of. Do they chain when they like is Captain America black now in the comics? I've never thought about that, actually.
I mean, he is, or at least he was in at least a big run. Like, I don't know. I don't read. I've never read Captain America comics.
Me neither. Avengers, who cares? But that's never even crossed my mind. That, like,
but he was before they made him that in the movie. Like, that's why. Like, the movie followed the comics.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me too.
Yeah, Sam Wilson became Captain America in the comics definitely well before the movie. They did it first, so the movie and the show copied that.
No shit. How about that?
Yeah, man. Get at me on my Marvel knowledge. I'll let you know. We can talk Marvel anytime.
Well, at the minute, I'll have my segment at the end. I got my X-Men Quest update, of course.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, just constantly playing Slay the Spire. I finally completed a run, so I'm happy about that. It's freaking hard to do. Still haven't done it again, which is also madly frustrating. But it's still addicting, so highly recommend.
Okay. That's it. That's the whole
sir.
run.
Those are the main ones. A lot of time spent.
Woo,
on those
buddy.
games.
I've had a wild 3 weeks. I am officially now a Patreon of Any Austin. It'll be the best $3 I spend every month for the remainder of my life. I can't believe that's. I don't know. This is honestly. I mean, I backed the Watch Out for Fireballs guys very briefly to get access to their back catalog and listen to the Subnautica episode years ago, and maybe the Outer Wilds episode too. And then I backed Team Beef, which is the developer of those VR ports of like Doom, Duke 3D, and all that shit, to get those. But I didn't keep backing those. I am signed up for the monthly. There's no chance I'll ever get rid of it. I don't think, anyways, unless he, I don't know, does something to piss me off, I suppose. But yeah, this is the first, like, I'm backing up someone on Patreon on an ongoing basis for sure. I just want this person to succeed. I know they are talented and funny, and I want to see everything they do. Like, that 100% is like the idea there. So I'm in the community, fucking talking. I got 5 words for you, bro. Outer Wilds. I want to hear your thoughts on that. Let's go. As if my $3 on the scope of his fucking situation matters. But yeah, there's 2 tiers. There's $3 and $10 are the only backing options. Like, I can't believe 10 is the maximum you can give this guy. And I don't really have an excuse for why I haven't upped it. I don't know. But it's named to the $10 category is called Member of the Bureau, which, remember, this is the guy that does the Bureau of Labor Statistics roleplay videos where he's going around and so you can become a member of the Bureau, which I think is a clever, smart idea for the upper tier. Anyways, the reason that happened was I watched, so he's got this, dude, he's got like his backlog. He's been making videos for like over a decade. So he's been doing this shit forever. He kind of just recently popped with these Bureau of Labor Statistics videos. He had like a nice, probably, I don't know. There probably is a website actually that tracks this. I didn't think to look it up, but he's got like 700,000 followers now. I'm guessing until maybe 3 years ago, he was probably in like double-digit thousands, So, people paying attention to him, and he had his user base or his audience, but it wasn't like huge as it is now. So his video history is kind of crazy. You see, because I'm so fucking into it, I have went through the whole backlog. I've watched basically everything that I could possibly want to watch now. He started with these videos called Eggbuster videos, and they were like glitch videos. Or at least most of his early stuff was like, that's the stuff that was kind of catching for him, was they're like glitch videos. So you go into, especially he's really into Link and Mario and Nintendo type stuff. I was saying that you can tell his formative years were in the GameCube, and he like goes in and just shows you all the like, I don't know, just weird ass things that you can do and exploit in the game, and that shit got him like a little bit of an audience. So there's a lot of that shit, but he's just always had like a lot of random. He's always constant. You can see him just constantly trying new show or video ideas, and like it's kind of cool. I've never paid any attention to any YouTuber with any depth or real interest, and like just seeing kind of the flowchart of him trying things and like, oh, that doesn't work, and then trying this, and like that kind of works for a little bit, but not as well as I want. Some, just kind of seeing the development has been kind of a cool little fucking social experiment going through his backlog. But anyways, I think they're probably 5 or 6 years old now when he did this. But he did this, and he doesn't do a ton of streaming that I know of, or at least the videos aren't on his channel. Maybe he does stream live, and then he doesn't bother to post them on YouTube. I don't know exactly. But he's got one on there that he's uploaded all of it. And it's for this game called Radiation Island, Jay, which of course you haven't heard of. It's from this like small developer. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's like, so it's a 2016 survival game. So it's very reminiscent functionally. It's like a mix of like Fallout in that you're on this island that's some weird irradiated thing is happening. So there's zombies everywhere of different kinds and different like aptitudes to pose a threat to you. And there's also nature. So there's like all these fucking like actual just normal wilderness animals. And there's something weird going on, and you don't really know what it is. And it's from a small developer, and it's like a pretty good concept of a game, but it's this super small developer. It's a super janky game, but janky and kind of like, it's not for everyone, this kind of thing, but like the way people like bad horror movies. Like, it's bad in a lot of ways, but it's bad interesting. You know what I mean? So that's the game, and this guy, I've told you, he's like has this deep appreciation for like the fiber of video games, which is why he's interesting, because he's smart and he fucking analyzes that shit and he like zeroes in on it, and he's very attentive to kind of just minutia, and the systems in games and da-da-da-da-da. So this is like a 30-some hour video. Or 30, like cumulatively, it's over 30 hours of videos. It's like 19 videos or something of him streaming this game front to back. And that's a lot. It's so much. I was enthralled. I could not stop watching it. I watched this shit like everything I was doing all day long for like, I don't know, 6 days straight or something. I could not stop consuming this fucking stupid ass stream. It's not even stupid. I won't even call it stupid. It's not stupid. It was fucking enthralling because it was this beautiful intersection of indie development insanity, low budget game shortcomings, and no one knowing anything about the game. So the chat is just as confused as the player that has never played the game. And that was really interesting. Yeah, all of that. And then also this usage of Europe's Final Countdown song that became part of the thread of the stream. And then just also his reserved comic style is fantastic. And yeah, it was just, I don't know. I cannot recommend this video stream enough, Jay, as like just a fucking fascinating social thing. I don't know how to describe it. And like, I'll talk more about like trying to replicate this and find others. It's impossible. I don't think I'll ever find anything this entertaining in the way this is entertaining. Again, it was this beautiful intersection of like him being not huge yet but still good and talented and funny at that job. And then all those other things I said. It was just this beautiful, poetic, unfucking predictable or you can't create it. It just happens, that kind of thing. So good, dude. So good. And yeah, I mean, like 4-ish episodes in, he starts putting on that song whenever he's gonna go out and try some epic thing. And dude, I was in my fucking kitchen crying laughing for like 7-minute segments of my life. I was fucking dying watching this shit. Cause like shit would happen, dude, and it's just like, again, it's all his fucking ability just to be funny. But like shit would happen in the game, and it's just like, you as the user who are invested after watching however many hours of this now are like, I cannot believe it just happened. Like, it doesn't make any sense for the game to let that happen. And it's like, the reason it's happening is like a combination of like janky video game and also just a crazy kind of good idea and story world and whatever, and like his reactions to shit would just be, so fucking good, dude. And like, and it would just take things from him. Like, it was so punitive and so hard and so brutal of a video game experience. It's unbelievable. Like, I cannot believe you're gonna stick this out and finish this game. It's so cripplingly harsh. You know, it was just, I don't know, whatever, this incredible fucking experience. I'm gonna cast him in a fucking movie. I'm gonna write a movie for him. He's like so entertaining. So fucking entertaining. So that was probably the most fun thing was just, I cannot recommend this enough. I don't watch streamers. I don't want to watch video game streams. I'm going to talk more about them trying to replicate that experience in a minute. Like, this is beautiful. You have got to watch it. Whatever you're going to do for the next 30 hours of screen time, I promise you, if you like video, you gotta like video games. But other than that, no qualifiers. There's whatever you're gonna do with your next 30 hours of screen time is not this entertaining. It's so fucking funny, man.
Wow, that's
God,
a statement.
So good, so fucking good, so good. So Innie Austin, Radiation Island. Holy fuck, watch that. So that was going on. Then Civ dropped, Jay. Civ 7. It's Civ. It's different, but it's Civ. It's same. You know, the different stuff, though, is big fucking different, man. It's the first time I think they've made a real and like, if you'd asked me this before I played 7, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Like Jab and I argue about 4 and 6, all the, you know, like there's been differences, right. But it's been the same game. Like every Civ game I've played, and I didn't realize this or think about it until I was playing this one, but every Civ game I've played since like 2002 has been the same exact thing. I stack as many wonders as possible. I don't really military up unless I'm forced to. And I'm trying everything in my power to prevent that from happening. I don't want to be at war. I just want to build, ideally. You know, I'll build up and murk you if you wrong me, but that's not what I want to do when I play that game.
Right. And
then other than that, I'm just stacking some sort of arbitrary number of points, either culture or science, probably. And that's what I've done for every game for 23 years. And I didn't know that until I played this one, because this one, the stat chasing shit is gone. You can still see numbers. There are some underlying math that I guess you're kind of like trying to chase. But they've introduced so much randomness and spontaneity that you have to realize is happening, acknowledge it, and then respond to. That you don't have the, even on, I mean, I'm playing on the second level of difficulty right now. And granted, I don't know everything yet, so maybe eventually you see the fucking Matrix and you can kind of start to cheese it or, you know, in Civ form, cheese it. But I don't think so, man. There's so much randomness now that you have to adjust. You have to see what's happening and be like, whatever the fuck my objective was a second ago, that's at best got to get backburnered hardcore. Maybe just get abandoned. And I have to do this new thing to deal with this new problem and this new threat and this new set of objectives. And that's crazy for a Civ game because that hasn't been there for any of them. And I just did not even think about that ever being a lacking thing, but it was. So like that's one big thing. And then another huge rejiggering they've done is they've introduced this ages system. So there's 3 ages. There's like antiquity, I forget what the middle one is, and then modern. And each one has like you can see the percentage of it going through it. So like, and everyone is on the same thing. Like you don't change it isn't just you going from modern to the second one. Like when this gets triggered by however it gets triggered, everyone has to go through this thing. Okay. So what it really does is
that's different.
It kind of wipes the slate clean a little bit. I mean, there's some carryover. It's not totally, you know, you keep your cities, your military leaders, a certain number of them are kept. So like the experience accumulation that you have done with your commanders and the development of them and their aptitudes remain. You as a leader have some like attribute things that are applicable to all ages and you can carry over and build on as you go through the 3 different ages. But a lot of the shit that's happening just gets wiped off the fucking board and like it's jarring at first, and I can tell a lot. I mean, a lot of fucking boomers are bitching about it, like really? That want their same thing. Just give me a new one with better graphics, you fucking pricks. Like, there's a lot of that out there for this game, and I don't agree with it, obviously, I think based on my tonality here, but it's abrasive. And at first it's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I was in a war on a game and like the age changed and like I was about to take a city and like, dude, like it makes all your fucking, it makes a lot of your military stuff inconsequential, which I think is more accurate. Like, the kids they send to the front lines mean nothing in real world war. And it is just the fucking powers behind them that actually have the macro meaning in these things and their intentions and shit. And I think it better emulates real world war in that regard. And that's kind of heady, more so than I want to get into here. But yeah, it kind of just wipes that shit off the board. And like, yeah, I was in the middle of that war. I was about to take a city. I didn't even, you got to pay attention to that fucking counter or it'll just catch you by surprise. And like the age ends and you're like, fuck. And like, I was in, like they had came to me right before the age change, the opposition, and offered me a city to end the war. And I declined it. It was like, no, I'm taking that city. I'm about to murk a bunch of others, you motherfuckers. And I didn't think about that or know whatever the reason was. And then the age ended and the war ends and, you know, all those military units are gone that were where they were. So I just like didn't get that city that I could have gotten if I'd have been paying attention. So that's just one super small example of like new shit to worry about and new systems and stuff. But yeah, like the age change is fucking wild, man. And like each of the first two have this, like the last 10% or maybe 25%, I can't think of the number, but like there's this crisis era and like you have these, it's like this, I don't know, like one time, they're like major global events that like create strife. And the way that gets implemented into the numbers is like really harsh. Like you have social policies as you always have. And it's kind of like a version of that, but you're choosing, you have to choose them. You have to pick, and like the number goes up as you go further into the crisis before the age change. And they're all punitive. So like you're choosing between lesser evils that you're adding to your system. And like you have to like be like, okay, I have enough happiness to deal with that -6 happiness for every city without my civilization crumbling from fucking revolts and stuff, you know. You have to like choose these bad things and like hope you can make it, you know, without something terribly bad happening. And like, again, it's like more shit out of your control that makes it, I think, infinitely interesting. Harder, of course. Right. And you can turn that shit off, I guess, if you want. But yeah, the predictable flowchart of the game is gone. And you have to pay the fuck attention in a way that I've never felt like I had to pay attention playing Civ. And I think that is, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know it well enough. Maybe I will eventually bounce off of it too and get closer to where a lot of people are bitching because of the differences and it just being too not satisfying. The thing that Civ is supposed to satisfy is, I guess, the one more turn thing. I mean, I still have that. I sat and played like fucking 9, I think it was like 8.5 hours the first day. You know, so like fucking, you know, Amy's constantly trying to get me to play. Like it's got its hooks in us both, I think. So it's not like I am that way at all yet, but maybe that'll happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just, I think it took such balls, like to take a franchise that storied and you know, it's just the audience for it is so defined and so I know exactly what I want. Give it to me. Just give it to me. I'll pay for it. Just give it to me. You know? And like, I think the balls it took to this in such a tectonic shift way change what the game was. It was just so ballsy of them. And like I said, I didn't know I wanted it. Something this different, but it is just so much more interesting than Civ has been for so long to me, you know. And I didn't, it was something to give someone obviously something they didn't know they wanted is good creation of art or whatever you want to call a fucking Civ game, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, man, fucking wild how different it is. Like the biggest, a really good analogy I thought to help simplify that ages thing. It takes the game, it goes from being just it's in a sports analogy. It goes from a single elimination playoff game or something to a best of 3 series, you know? And like, it's not exactly standalone as far as like your scoring or whatever, you know, and winning the game. But in a lot of ways, it does turn it. It reshuffles the deck, and if you jump out to a big lead in the first stage, that does not mean you're just going to coast the rest of the way. Shit's going to happen. Things are going to change. You have to you don't change your leader, but you do change your civilization. Which I think is so much more historically accurate. Like if you had this plot of land with these cities over 3,000 years, like the same group of people are not going to be who lives there. You know what I mean? Like things are going to fall, or empires are going to fall. They're going to lose ground. They're going to be taken over. New people are going to come in and settle. Like shit changes over time. And I think it's, again, just such a better representation of what this game is supposed to be representing, which is the history timeline of the world. You know what I mean? And I think that also is just so much more interesting, So yeah, fucking hugely different game. I did not expect that to be like that. So pretty cool.
So you're saying I should check it out?
Should definitely check it out. And even cooler, Jay, that shit's going to be on VR by spring. Quest native VR. They're doing a Quest version of it. And yes, they'll get my $70 again, or however much they charge me then. Because in VR, again, that Per Aspera game, like the kind of the sci-fi Alpha Centauri type real-time strategy game I played a couple years ago on there was fantastic. You could it was just so much better of a UI for that type of game, like zooming in and like pointing, and it's just like it puts you in the board game as opposed to just this top-down moving things, interface. It was really cool, and I don't expect that they're offloading it to. They're not doing it in-house at Fire Access. They're offloading the VR development to a VR developer, which is very smart, of course. So they're going to make it VR it's not going to be just a VR port of a tabletop game or a top-down game. It's going to be a VR game that is Civ, so. Yeah. I was blown away by how different it was. So that's going on. Metro 2033. If you remember, I was stuck in that because of the stealth shit.
Right.
I was totally right. It was just a UI / what do you want to, what do you want from me? Shit slowing me down. I eventually watched a video, and the guy just was this murder. He was just fucking shooting everyone. And I didn't need to be. I didn't have to sneak. Maybe I wasn't even supposed to. I don't know. You definitely. I mean, it told you this is how you sneak. So they clearly wanted you to sneak for some of it, but there are parts that maybe you're not supposed to, and I didn't know that. Yeah. So there's just a perfect example of just what I always talk about with VR. Sometimes you get fucked because you just don't know. Although I think that's, like I said, that was a thing present in even fucking PSP Metal Gear games. So that's not entirely unique to VR, but it was a little bit of that idea. And I didn't even think I could use my gun. I had tried to shoot people when I got discovered, but for some reason it didn't feel I don't know, maybe I was just getting murked too fast because I was discovered by more than one person. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't even know that I could use my gun. So when I found out I could just get into a fucking dark spot and go and brain the fucker yes, it aggroes that dude who's nearby, but you just shoot his ass too. Yeah, and then the other people didn't hear you, I guess, So yeah, that was just a dumbass thing I bounced off of. So I'm popping into that when I can handle the sensory overload.
Nice.
Which is nice, of course, to not be just throwing the game away. And so the other really big thing I think is, so I watched that Annie Austin stream, the Radiation Island thing. So I finished that, and now I have a massive hole in my life that I have conditioned myself to need for a week. So I'm okay, I'm going to try to chase the dragon and get that drug from another streamer or something, which that did not happen, spoiler alert. But I started poking around, trying to find streamers that have dry humor like him that I aren't constantly catering to their chat, which I said, I don't watch streamers. Oh God, it's so hard to watch someone every 5 seconds turn to the chat and be oh, thanks, whatever, for the and I get that it's their job, it's what it is, but I don't want to watch that. It's super fucking annoying and not at all something. For that reason. Yeah, I cannot. Oh my God, I could not believe some of them how badly and just it's so pandering too. And again, I know I'm being a cunt by saying this, but it's so pandering and just makes my skin crawl. So I hated most of them. I hate everything. You hate everything, Josh. You fucking hate everything. And it's yes, correct, hypothetical, judgmental fuck in my head. That's correct. I do hate everything. But I still think I can find one or two that'll satiate it. So yeah, they gotta, like, not do that. They aren't acting disingenuously when they react to a game, which is another big problem. They're all, like, overreacting. It's like, fuck off, asshole. Like, yes, the camera's in your face, but just play the game, please. And then also, the last element is not letting the chat spoil their experience. You know what I mean? If they're reading the chat, people are fucking horrible. Human beings are terrible, so they're spoiling everything if you let them. And, like, I found, like, a lot of them have moderators that want to not have their shit spoiled and be able to play a game organically. So you get, like, some of that pruned out. But if there's any chat at all, some of it gets through. I don't give a shit how good of a job the moderator's doing. And even if, like, you know, even small things like whatever, simple things that maybe aren't spoilery, but, like, feel really good when you figure out them yourself. And if I'm going to watch someone play a game, I want to see that, and, like, to have any of that taken away sucks too. So, very hard to find all my fucking checkboxes, but I found a guy doing an Outer Wilds stream was my first foray. It was pretty good. He actually hid the chat. So the chat was going on, but he just hid it and, like, put it in the video that he edited and uploaded later, but he played the chat clean with no chat. Played the game clean with no chat. So it's kind of interesting because you see the people going buck wild in the chat. Especially for a game like Outer Wilds, where it's like mind-blowing discoveries. Like, people just going like, oh my god, he fucking figured it out! Like, or I can't believe he fucking did that! That was so stupid! So it was actually kind of entertaining to watch that happening, but him not see it. And he wasn't a bad whatever. But I watched that, I couldn't find the other ones. I'm like, okay, so what's the next step? Subnautica, right? So I tried to find a Subnautica guy. I found one, and honestly, the stream was pretty bad. The guy was doing a ton of pandering, and he did have moderators, but there was still some spoilery shit going on, so not even fucking close. But I watched God knows how many hours of Subnautica, Jay. What do you think that's gonna turn into? It's gonna turn into me going, I gotta play Subnautica. Of course. So I played this fucking game. I'm not gonna just fucking play Subnautica again. I got to figure out a way to play VR. And I haven't really tried in the base game. A year or two ago, I did Below Zero, and my only reason to do that was because on PC VR, I'm saying, was because I had already bought Subnautica a bunch of other times or something. I didn't want to pay for it again on Steam, so I didn't buy the base game, even though I know Below Zero was fucking nowhere near as good. So, dumb decision in hindsight knowing this now, but they did, I didn't realize this, like, it's probably 3 years ago or something now. They did they released an official VR port of it. So there's, like, actually a VR iteration of the game that's native. It's not good. And really barely even works, I would say, the way you would want a VR game to work. So they did a terrible job. But this game is revered. So internet nerds to the rescue. They've created mods that fix all the things that the developer did not have in there. So there is it's called Submersed VR mod that, like, it's just perfect. It's fucking perfect. It's beautiful. It's exactly what if you play Subnautica and you're like, oh my god, how amazing would it be to be in this and actually have control of my environment the way I want with my controller, because if you remember when I played Below Zero, I was having to use an Xbox controller, which obviously sucks. So now it's mapped to VR controllers and it's perfect. And Jay, I set this goal for myself, and just like every time I've done this, it's like 30 minutes later. Like, yes, it was some hard stuff. I had to, like, watch some videos and figure some shit out and download some things and blah, 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 and to pay for the game again. But I got $3 off, Jay, because I had Below Zero already, and it's a bundle. So Steam cut me a deal. I only paid $27 for it instead of $30 for, the third time I bought it or whatever. But
oh man.
You get into it, dude, and it's like, oh my god, it's just such a great world in VR. It's so fucking good. But, like, all functionally, I can see it's all there. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see that it's there for me to enjoy perfectly if I want. It's like that Subside, the diving experience I was saying. Like, it's incredible. I can tell it's incredible. My shitty system just can't do it perfectly, though, or can't give me the experience that's perfect to really experience this the way I know it can be experienced. And this is too amazing. And, like, I played it one session, maybe 1.5 fucking hours. And I was like, that's it. I'm fucking doing it. And like, I get offline and I get off the fucking headset and I sit down and like, I'm making a fucking PC from scratch that's going to be a VR mecca. And, and yeah, I said, dude, there's this really cool website. If you talked about thinking about doing this, dude, there's this, it's called PC Part Picker. PCpartpicker.com. It's a godsend, dude. Cause like, you know, I know computers kinda, but I haven't fucking really dealt with specs since like 2002 or something. So the numbers are all kind of overwhelming. That's been the big thing that's kept me from doing this. But this website, dude, it allows you, it has like a builder app. So you like go in and you like, it shows you all the things you have to buy, all the different parts, and it allows you to mix and match them. And then it also has a built-in like incompatibility detector. So if you have anything that doesn't work with each other or anything, it red flags it for you. And then you can take these things that you build and save them for one, of course, so you have them for reference. And then they have a forum that you also can drop it into and ask for advice from the actual internet nerds that you want to hear information from. So I'm able to build one that I think works. Within an hour, I have a ton of feedback on the forum that tells me the things I should swap out, both to save money and have a better build, you know. And yeah, I mean, it was maybe 3 to 4 hours of work total, and I am ordering that shit out. And like, it has the buttons right in the thing. So they probably, the business model for this, which is brilliant for them, is probably the Amazon referral thing. So like, if you click through, you can just literally build your thing and there's a one button thing, buy, and you just go to Amazon and it's in your cart, you know, and you can just put it all in a cart and fucking send it all in one big fucking sweeping thing and the shit's all coming to your house. You don't have to go get anything anywhere, you know? So it was, yeah, such a relatively easy experience, I think, because of that, finding that. And yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about doing this, I ended up spending like $1,700, which I think I did it pretty strategically. I probably, like, my GPU is a fucking, these numbers aren't going to mean anything, but it's like one step back from like the one that just came out, my graphics card, you know, and like, same, the processor, everything else is pretty much, it's relatively inexpensive. Your big money is the graphics cards. Like, I paid like $625 for this graphics card, and these things can go up to, you could probably spend like $2,000 on like the high end ones, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, like the graphics card and your core processor are your big expenses basically. And everything else is pretty cheap. You got to buy all the little fans, the cooling thing. You got to pick your case. And like, I don't want some like, dude, some of these fucking cases look like they're from fucking Planet fucking whatever. I was about to
say, like, did you get like a big colorful thing? Like, what?
No, it's like I got a black box that with mesh on the side so it can stay cool. Like, it's not going to be no fucking flash to it all, but you can get some crazy looking ones if that's your deal. But yeah, like, you know, you got to buy all the fans. You got to buy the hard drive. Like, dude, this is the hard drive. Look, can you see this? Yeah. This is a 2 terabyte hard drive, a solid state 2 terabyte hard drive. That's crazy. I thought it was I took it out and I ordered so many things. Like, actually, it just showed up this morning. I ordered this shit yesterday, Jay. And the first box showed up literally right before I jumped on outside my door. And it had the power supply and the hard drive from Newegg. And yeah, it's from Amazon actually. But yeah, this is like I think it was like $104, a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive. So like no moving parts. It's just, it looks like, I thought it was a RAM chip. I thought it looks like a RAM chip to me. So I've never even seen that. So it's going to be fun as fuck to build. I can't wait to do it. Hope I can do it. I'm a relatively savvy guy when it comes to fucking technical stuff. So I between YouTube videos and my own whatever know-how and capability, I think it should be fine. But yeah, that'll be super fun to build it. And dude, it's not even going to have a monitor. Like, I'm not even going to, Amy has a monitor that I'm going to plug into it to set it up with and install fucking Windows. But once I do that, if I understand correctly, I've read up on this, once I have the VR headset attached to it, that's my monitor. It's going to be just a standalone VR fucking powerhouse box sitting in the corner of my living room with no wire. It's like high-end Wi-Fi. So like, it's going to have nothing plugged into it. It's going to just be a box that runs my fucking VR headset.
The headset doesn't connect to it with a cord?
You can, but you don't have to. No, it's Wi-Fi Airlink. So you got to that's one step I might have to take. I mean, I've done this for the PCR video. Like that was a part of the Steam Link won't. I think you have to have a hardwired VR connect. Your laptop has to be hardwired from your router, and to do that, you need this little fucking box I bought a while back, and obviously higher end Wi-Fi the better. You have to have certain kind of routers that actually can facilitate this. Yada yada. So I bought like a little bit of I remember I don't remember exactly my decisions, but I remember like not buying the most expensive versions of things. So I might have to upgrade that a little bit too. It'll probably be a couple $100 at most. And maybe upgrade, if I can, I'll probably upgrade my Wi-Fi too. But so that has to happen. So it'll be hardwired the Wi-Fi to my box, my computer. But no, the headset doesn't have to be. I actually, because I'm trying to make this Subnautica thing as nice of an experience as possible until I get my shit set up, my new thing. I do have an AirLink cable for the headset that I can plug into my laptop. And when I plugged that in, but still on, I noticed a difference in quality. Mm. But I know it's still on the Wi-Fi, because when I turned the Wi-Fi off, Steam Link wouldn't even work on the fucking... So I was like, my initial troubleshooting of this was, I'll just turn when I looked up, the only way to make your headset not use the Wi-Fi is to turn off the Wi-Fi entirely. So I turned it off, and when I did that, Steam wouldn't even work on the headset. So it's definitely using the internet for something. But when I hardwired it with that fucking fiber optic cable, I noticed a quality difference. So there's something going on there that it's using the hardwired for some purpose or another. But with all the new shit that if I need to hardwire it, I'll be shocked or if there's any benefit to hardwiring it, I'll be shocked because this shit is it's like my laptop now it's a 2060, which they're on the 5000 series now for NVIDIA graphics cards with 6 gigabytes of video RAM. My new one is 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it's, like I said, one back from the newest shit. So it should be a substantial upgrade. And I have 32 gigabytes of RAM as opposed to 16 in here. Obviously, the processor is better built for this shit. It should be to my understanding. That's what my question was, and literally in the forums was. I titled the post, "This is a lot of money to spend to play Subnautica VR," and then it was the list of products. And I asked in the post, I was like, "Listen, I haven't built one since 2002. Tell me I told them exactly what I want to play, how I want to play it, with what devices I'll be playing it on the Quest and all that." And I'm like, "What do I need to change to not be annoyed and to have the best possible Subnautica experience?" And that was the feedback I got. So if I don't get exactly what I want when this thing fires up, I'll be absolutely shocked, because I got a ton of great input. And like I said, I saved money by doing it too. And I think got better shit. So yeah, it should be fucking just absolutely unreal, I think. And I cannot fucking wait. It'll be so amazing. I'll never get out of VR again. No. But yeah, doing that, the one last little thing, I started thinking about, what else, because it was such an easy experience getting Subnautica going this time. I was like, what else have I played that I love that would be amazing in VR? Do you remember that game, The Forest? It was PC, I might not have been, that might have been before you were on here even, because I was playing that on my PlayStation 4. But it's called The Forest, and it's a survival game where you are in a plane. I don't even know when it came out, probably 2018 or something. But you're in a plane with your kid. It crashes on a deserted island, a foresty type island, and there's cannibals. The fucking cannibal society on the island, and they take your kid, and then you just have to survive. And it was a really good survival. What? It's all the building and eating, and all the systems are there that same as Subnautica, and that way those are the big focal points, and they're well done. You build these awesome forts, and you can build all these traps and catapults and shit to really good job of that. So a very good game, a little janky because it was from 2018, but I was like, I wonder if that's in VR now. And sure enough, there's a really clean PC VR version of that. And looking up that, there's a sequel to this game that just came out last year that I didn't even know about, called The Sons of the Forest, that I will definitely play also once it's on VR. But that's one game that I started thinking there's probably a lot of games that have VR mods now that when I have a really clean system, I can go back and play, and it'll be fucking amazing. And yeah, that was one that is definitely I wish listed for sure that I will play. And that game, dude, it's such. I forgot that it has a co-op thing, dude. You can play real time 2 dudes on an island or 2 people on an island together doing this shit, and like that would be so fucking fun. I actually watched a little bit of a stream that wasn't so bad of 2 dudes playing it together, and it's like it's so fun. You're like the 2 of you running around like building these traps and fucking dealing with these things together and like building the fucking bases together and shit. That would be so much fucking fun.
Fighting cannibals.
Right, fighting cannibals. And like you like got to do all this exploration shit. It's just got to be so much more fun in co-op that I haven't even tried that. Even though that was, I don't know why I didn't. It was on. I could have done it that way, but again, it's the same thing that always prevents me from doing shit like that. Is like the idea of jumping in with just strangers to do something that intimate. To me, it's. Intimate.
I mean, yeah, like, are you eating the cannibals back? Like, do you get to eat them? Because I admit that would be very strange to do with a stranger.
You certainly, yeah, you could definitely probably. I can't remember specifically, but you have to be able to. That has to be in there. It's such a good. You find this Walkman on a boat out in the lake. And then you start finding these tapes around with these fucking, they're like old, there's this they're bangers, dude. They are banger instrumental, like 80s rock songs and shit it's so cool to like, you build your fort, you wake up in the morning and you like fire up the Walkman and fucking play this hilarious ass tune. And then you run around and fucking fight these cannibals and shit. It's such a well done game in so many ways that I cannot fucking wait to do it in VR. And it's terrifying too. I remember that being a really in the same way Subnautica is, because there's so much unknown and there's so much, because the cannibals things, they're like mutate, like some of them are just like normal cannibals, but there's like a mutation thing going on that some of them have as they get more advanced that is really fucking scary and really off-putting, so yeah, it's a really great game. I can't wait to go back to, but there's probably so much of that. I just can't fucking wait to do it on my new PC VR. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. That's it. Yeah, we got to talk about fucking Nintendo Power now. This has been too long, but let's quickly talk about X-Men and get the fuck out of here. I'm up to. I just did 175. I think I read 176 last night before I fell asleep. Okay. The issue after 175 is where Madeline Pryor and Cyclops get married. So we're coming out of what's been happening. Storm is still the leader. She's broke bad. So like they get into a thing, they introduce the Morlocks, which are the sewer fuckers. And when she goes down there, it's right when, I don't know, I can't remember I think it's coming out of the Jean Grey thing, something. What causes that? I can't remember what triggered it now. But yeah, Storm breaks bad. That's when I didn't never know this, but it's why she shaves her head and does the mohawk. Yeah, she mohawk. turns into like an 80s punk figure now, and like that is accompanying this tectonic shift in her like mentality about, because her whole thing previously has been she, refuses to kill anything, everything, all life deserves goddess of the earth type thing. She's like this, when this Morlocks thing happens, she almost kills that leader of the Morlocks, and now all she talks about is how it feels great and she can't believe that she always was that way, and like, if I have to kill this thing, so be it. She almost, who was that mastermind fucker that creates the Phoenix? She makes the X-Men think that, or he makes the X-Men think that Phoenix has came back and that Madeline Pryor has turned into her, which is never really explained. I mean, I guess maybe it does get explained more now. They just got married, so it's not like she's going away. But they're like hinting at, and I know it's in X-Men 97 too, so I know that must be where it's going, but they acted like this problem totally went away. But they were like insinuate, like Scott was seeing these things in Madeline Pryor where he's like I can't remember what it was, but she has that like transcendental crash experience the same day Jean Grey dies or something. Mm-hmm. So like he's like getting worried that Madeline Pryor is Jean Grey. She looks just like her, to the point where when she meets the rest of the X-Men, everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Jean Grey!" It's like a lot of weird shit going on that if that doesn't get explained by some actual connective tissue between her and Jean Grey, you're going to have a real hard time explaining that to me, I think. But I know it's got to go somewhere in that direction because X-Men 97 touched on that to such a great degree. But I'll be curious to see what that is because it was super weird that like, yeah, when she showed up, everyone's just like, she's like, that's like, because it's a comic, I can't tell. Like, he's talking about her being like, kind of looking similar. I'm like, okay, so there's like a close similarity, sure. Like, yes, I can tell their hair is both red, but do they look the same? I don't know, it's a comic book. But, but when she shows up at the X-Men Mansion and everyone's like, oh my God, like, it's fucking Jean Grey. I'm like, she can't look exactly like her. Get the fuck out of here, And also, how weird is it that Scott is dating this chick that is identical to her? Like, that's such a weird life choice. If he actually is so heart-wrenched anyways, like, sure, a certain type of person can be like, okay, I'm just replacing the human being. Great. But, like, that's not Scott's vibe, So, that to me was very jarring,
Also, you don't know what happens. You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I know there's some fun. Yeah, I know there's something. I know, again, partly because of X-Men 97, partly because like a loose knowledge of the universe from like the cards and just knowing picking up on lore things here and there over 30 years of caring about the X-Men. But I don't know exactly what it is. And yeah, I mean, I'll be just curious to see exactly how that works out. So there's that going on. The Starjammer shit is still going on. Cyclops is still deciding whether or not he's going to join his dad and go off, which clearly isn't going to happen. But they just won't let that go. It's like this last issue, just like the only time you see his dad is at the wedding. He's just like sitting a row back from from Scott's grandparents. And he's just like thinking about how, I don't know, some dumbass thought that his dad had. But it's funny how they just won't let that go away, and keep that circling in the background like there's any real threat of Cyclops just leaving. That's the weird thing too. Because it kind of seemed like when Cyclops first came back, after Storm was the leader, that it kind of, like, it wasn't explicitly said, but to me, it seemed like Cyclops took back over as the leader, But that has went away, because now they are explicitly talking about, like, they had a chat a few issues back, where he's actually talking to her, or they're talking about how it's still her team, and he... there's decisions that he wouldn't do, and there was something going on there that very explicitly explained that she was still in charge, and that was going to be that way until further notice. Which I thought that had went away entirely. So that's interesting. I'm trying to think what else. The whole Mariko, the whole Wolverine tangent, which I was wrong. They just didn't do a good job of having it line up with the actual real life calendar, I don't think, but. He goes to Japan. He invites all the X-Men to come to Japan for the wedding. She leaves him at the altar. There was that whole storyline in the limited series that now taps into this. So, like, again, it doesn't line up with the actual calendar of the months that the comics were on the newsstands. Oh, yeah. But that did happen concurrently. I don't know how. I guess, he leaves. So he is over there, and that must have been when that limited series happened. And that's whatever. That is supposed to have just happened right before this issue of X-Men when they go to Japan, I guess. But that was jarring to me that ended up actually having more, I don't know, relevance to the actual X-Men timeline. I didn't expect that because it wasn't happening at the same time when I was reading the comic books. But so yeah, he goes there. She leaves him at the altar with no real explanation, and it's like super fucking janky. I think the execution of that was really bad. But that whole thing happened. And that's still you're still jumping back to that a little bit. He just took the sword back to her in Japan, and they had this really weird conversation where he said to her that if he's keeping the sword, he should get to keep her too. It's very possessive. I thought a very weird vibe to that conversation, but she's like, I can't, I need to do this thing or it's not honorable. And I still don't exactly understand what they're talking about, even though there's been like 3 or 4 issues and plus the limited series now. I don't get what's happening there exactly, but something's happening there still. So some more formative Wolverine stuff. So yeah, a lot of shit going on. Definitely still reading, knocking out like 2 a night probably at times. But I have a feeling. I was surprised they made 175 such like that was the wedding issue. And I was surprised that 175 was like this big epic thing. It was twice as long. It was like a double issue. Mm-hmm. It was 43 pages instead of 23, I think, or 46 instead of 23. And yeah, I expect that issue 200 will probably be a banger as a result. If they're willing to do 175 as some huge epic thing, I imagine 200 will be quite the.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Yeah, quite the deal. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I guess that's all the updates on the X-Men front. Definitely invested, I guess, ultimately. Okay, let's fucking talk about Nintendo Power.
That is the Sector 2 theme from Power Blade, bringing us into this totally radical issue. I mean, look at this cover. This is awesome. This is not peak 90s?
Yeah, it's so fucking peak. Yeah, and then, the fucking screenshot you chose as well is just, oh god, it's so good. The boomerang, that boomerang.
That's dope.
Insane.
It's the dopest boomerang I've ever seen.
Yeah, what is going on here precisely? That's what I wrote down at the top of my April 1991, $350 US, $450 Canadian dollars to get the semantics out of the way. But yes, what exactly is going on precisely with this fucking cover? Like, it's a robot, or maybe just a dude cosplaying as one. I can't really tell. He's standing on a hot pink wireframe grid, and way dirty in the foreground is an object I only know is supposed to be a blade because of the name of the game, Power Blade. Like, otherwise, that's just a blur of neon, you know. And then, said blade has some hot pink chemtrails coming off the end of it, and then there is some kind of NES screenshot pixel art shit going on in the background that my best guess at interpreting is supposed to be just miscellaneous high-tech shit.
Yes, that is all accurate, and I will say, because I am very, very familiar with this game, you get a power-up in Power Blade where you get that metal suit and you throw awesome powers. So that's meant to be like him.
This is a game you have nostalgia for? You actually played this? I never. This is dude, I can't believe, again, I don't remember it being like this. It's not like my Nintendo Power subscription ended and then I just stopped playing Nintendo. Like, that can't be how it went. There's just no way. But the second we got off my subscription, dude, that Mega Man 3 issue being the last issue, Star Tropics, a little bit in there. The last issue and this issue have been like, I don't know any of these games. I never played any of them. I haven't heard of most of them, and it doesn't seem fucking possible to me. Like, this is 1991. I'm in early 1991. I think I'm in 4th grade, man. Like, I am like,
how is that just even possible?
Yeah, I am knee deep in Nintendo for sure then, man. Like, I don't know, but yeah, I'd never heard of this. So,
dude, that to me like blows my mind, because for me it's the exact opposite. Like, this issue, and we'll talk about it later, stands out to me like no other. The spreads in the issue do, the games do. And like,
this is when you came in, huh? Well, we've talked about it. We know the disparity in timeline. Oh, yeah. And it's so funny to me, too. We've talked about it a million times. But, like, I feel like I came to NES late as fuck. Like, I remember other kids having it and me being stuck in that 2600. Like, what the fuck, man? And, like, I felt like it was late. And, like, the idea that you were behind me is crazy to me, because I felt like I was the last kid to get one.
Well, I think also, like, just in terms of the timeline of my life, this was also a time when I started going to the library by myself a lot more. You know what I mean? And so, like...
So just the mags, yeah.
And once... I don't know if they just started carrying it, or I just noticed they started carrying it, but the library started carrying Nintendo Power. And so from that point forward, I'm going to go there. I'm going to ask my mom to take me, or if it was still in my old neighborhood, you know, I was walking there. But at this point in time, I'm at like the neighborhood that I spent, you know, most of my time in growing up. And I'm either walking there, or when I'm old enough to drive, I'm driving there to the library by myself. And I'm just going to sit and I'm going to read through the entire mag. And so like this magazine, I'm just like, I think it coincides with me being my ability to go to the library and see Nintendo Power every single month. At some point it's going to be there. And then also, like, they started having back issues, you know, years later, I'd be able to also just go and like, oh, let me just flip through a back issue. And at the same time, this is when my mom was on Monday nights, she would get off of work, and across the street was this place called Farmore, like kind of like an early Walmart kind of store. But they had a video rental section. You could rent the games for 99 cents. We've talked about this before, but at the time, man, Sometimes I get 2 games, she would give me 2 games on a Monday night and I get them for 3 days and I was just,
dude,
peak. And
Jay,
these type of games that are in here and we will talk about them are the games that I would get. So it was kind of just like the ultimate.
You've talked about that before. I don't think I've ever said this, or maybe it ever even occurred to me. Do you realize how incredible that is? That she just did that unprompted? Oh. And you were not probably... Dude, going to the rental store was like an epic occurrence. And it's not like I remember the work that had to be done in order to facilitate it, but I just have zero doubt that it was something that Jab and I had to leverage our asses off to make happen. And we probably had to do a bunch of work. Well, whatever, and it's not even about the money. It's them devoting the time to it. The fact that you would just grab them without even asking you and just show up with some free shit that you didn't even have to do the work of figuring out what you wanted is just, it's incredible. It's an incredible thing.
That's why my mom is the best. But yeah, later on, obviously, there's a closer rental store like around the corner and things like that where I would have to, Mom, Dad, can you please come and go there? And I'll get my own money and go there. But I think it was, she would have to go to the store anyway. And she's like, I'm here and there's a rental section here. And it was so cheap. It was kind of like a surprise, she would just pick a couple games like, all right, I'm going to pick this game.
But yeah, just the fact that she even had the initiative to do it, dude, it's crazy.
Trust me. It was like Christmas time. Like, oh, did you get a game? Did you get a game? What'd you get? Like, sometimes it'd be a great game. Other times it'd be like, I'm glad you got me a game. This game sucks though. You never know.
But that's great with that because again, some of my more stark rental memories are like, yes, when I had Nintendo Power, this is less of a thing because you have some guidance. But once that goes away, you're just a kid standing in an aisle of things you don't know shit about. Yeah. So, you're just paralyzed with indecision / bad decision making on bases that are poor things to make decisions on. You know what I mean? So, sure, she can make bad decisions too. But, the idea that it's just the randomness of it that isn't going to be based on your bad childhood decision making. I mean, even if it's a woman who doesn't play Nintendo games standing in an aisle looking at box covers or whatever, it's still probably going to be better than a kid doing it. You know what I mean? Even with no knowledge of what she's choosing. There's just a qualitative ability to discern quality in even the artwork maybe that guides those decisions. That isn't always going to be right, of course, for Nintendo, or any video game, but there's some level of adult discrepancy in the decision making that you don't even have the opportunity to circumvent or try to get rid of. You know what I mean? It's just a really cool element to the pipeline for rental games for a child.
It was awesome, and I didn't care. It was great because it was all just like, you're getting me a game. If you didn't do that, I would have no game, and now I have a game. So I'm happy to go on that adventure in game roulette.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like that app I've talked about, the just spin the wheel app, Tiny Decisions. Yeah. Where it's like a Tiny Decisions app for the whole Nintendo library. Or at least what that particular story might have had to offer. Anyways, in addition to that yellow, hot pink colored Power Blade headline, our subheading flavor text here reads, Alienated Computers, which is a really incomplete idea. I think it's just a really weird combination of words that made me chuckle when I read it, and
I do not think it means what you think it means.
Right, exactly, yeah. But yeah, then of course my initial thought is, okay, but is it the fucking mainframe? Is it the alienated mainframe, or is it just a computer? I need to know, or at least a custom PC build intended for VR usage only. One or the other. I'm okay with that as well. Super hits is the next bullet point. We got Monopoly, Swordmaster, Scat are the super hits in question. No, again, Monopoly, of course, I know the board game, and I know they made an NES game, but that list of games, Jay, was just that means nothing to me.
Yeah. when I saw it, too, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is, other than Power Blade, what do we even got? But
yeah, okay. So that was interesting that we both felt that way going in. And then the closer bullet point is plus! Exclamation. And they are plussing a giant special section of Game Boy coverage. The subscribe pullout on the issue is just inside the cover, is the Unmask the Power Animal in You construction paper project. And then we arrive at Powerline. And this is just priming us for some of the game features and the Game Boy extravaganza, other than the opening paragraph that is telling us the special report feature for kind of like their industry analysis journalism. Their most journalistic monthly feature that they've started doing here is on the developers of, we're just told, top-rated games, and then the accompanying illustration is 4 British King's Guards. They like the guys outside the palace that won't smile with the tall black hats and shit. And each one of them has a developer company name on the hat. There's Rare, Ocean, Elite, and Software Creations. And I knew Rare was British, but otherwise I looked at that and was like, okay, those companies must all be British. It must be a British feature. Which, I guess, good fucking storytelling as far as a magazine, fucking whatever editorial goes. Then we have the TOC preceding a player's pulse, where we get into our mail call for the issue, which is exclusively devoted to dudes jamming on their Game Boys in the Persian Gulf while they're hanging out under the impression they're fighting for freedom in Operation Desert Shield. But really, they're just fighting for rich U.S. oil barons to keep their crude oil barrel per barrel pricing where they want it. But those poor guys / kids don't know that. We won't get into that political position. Staff Sergeant William J. Lucas tells us that the Game Boy is second only to a deck of cards as far as recreational gaming goes, and that about every third person here has one. And that kind of, I mean, granted, he's spitballing. That's not like, he's not out doing the Bureau of Labor Statistics polling for that. Right. But that's still, and even if he's like embellishing even, still, honestly, even if you tell me half of 33% is of the soldiers have a Game Boy, that's mind-blowing. So anywhere near 33% is fucking nuts to me that many soldiers over there had this in 1991. That was crazy as fuck to me to think about. That, everyone's heard the stories, like there's one of the, probably the most famous one is the Game Boy that got fucking burnt up in the fucking whatever it was, bombing blast, or something. Yeah. Yeah, and it still worked, So, like, there's that. So it's not like this is the Game Boys being over in the Persian Gulf War for soldiers was something I didn't know about. But, like, that level of coverage was surprising to me to hear here. So that was kind of interesting.
I definitely remember that. Like, and I remember this issue. Again, like, I remember reading this and thinking, like, it's great that they have all this time to game. Maybe they got to hook up and, like, hey, they're gifted all these Game Boys. But also stressful, like bombs could fly at any moment. Like, well,
dude, that's, it's clearly as a kid. You grow up as a kid, but even as an adult, you grow, you have this vision of what maybe military life might be like as a person who's not in it and not even kind of cut from a cloth that could be in it. In my case, like, I don't know what I thought it was like, but when I moved off campus and lived in Olentangy Commons, Porter was my roommate for a bit. And he got deployed over there. And I remember talking to him, Will too, because Will was over there. My buddy Will was over there in the Middle East for a while too. And both of them, but I remember specifically on being AOL Instant Messenger with Porter. And we'd be talking, just bullshitting about something. And then he'd be like, big boom, gotta go. And they're just gone. Like while talking on AOL Instant Messenger. And like, what? Paint that scene. Like you're on some computer talking on AOL IM like our dumbasses were doing in Columbus, Ohio, college kids, but you're in a war zone and you're just doing this mundane, like, I don't know. I guess really what I'm digging at here is like the daily mundanity of regular everyday life. I never thought that would exist for people at war, and that is what it made me realize is like this dichotomy of it, especially talking to Will a bunch. He actually just pretty cool for him. He just retired. He did this 25 years, dude. We're old enough for my high school buddy.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yep. He didn't even, it's not like he walked out of high school and went right into the army either. He like fucked around a little bit before he went in. So we're fucking old. But yeah, he did his 25 years, or at least close enough too. I don't know if he had to do full 20. I think he did. But yeah, he just actually moved back to Oberlin. And he's done, so good for him. But talking to him about shit too, and just he doesn't like to talk about a lot of it, I think, but just some of the sparse insight. Yeah, man, it's like it's a job. You're just at a job, man. Even him talking about living in the base out here when I went and visited him and shit, and like you don't think about it, but it's just a bunch of dudes doing a job, you know? And yes, when like the war part of it's super fucked and probably way fucked up, but like a lot of it is just having a job that like with shitty hours and a shitty place with a lot of shitty coworkers probably. You know what I mean? And like shit like Game Boy, like yeah, of course they have Game Boys. They're fucking dudes, man. They're 19-year-old dudes. Of course they have a fucking Game Boy. Like what the fuck do you mean? You're surprised they have a Game Boy? Like what the fuck do you mean? Yeah, just really crazy. I don't know. Understanding of intersection of reality and perception, I suppose, maybe is what I'm getting at there. Anyhow, the other 3 letters are just testaments to what we all know, that the Game Boy is fucking great, and thank you for your service, even if you were being lied to about why you were sweating your asses off in those wooden shacks called hooches, that's a cool insight thing the one guy gives, that the shacks they lived in were called hooches. They put 6 soldiers to a hooch, and that's all sounds super military and looks a lot like Jarhead, although Will tells me Jarhead is a shit representation of being a soldier stationed in the Middle East, so he was hardline, super against that movie. So maybe not a great example, but I do remember those shacks and his little shit, the scenes outside the shacks that he had to clean, all that shit. Is what I think of when I read that. I was surprised here though they had AC. I was surprised that they gave the fuckers AC. Good for them. Right. Surprised, but good for them because it's hot as fuck over there for sure. The second page of the Pulse is big time, in my opinion. They are highlighting the winner of the Final Fantasy Treasure Quest contest that they put on sometime back, dude. And if you remember, when we found this, I searched high and fucking low. We're always trying to find, trying to find the winners of this. I even posted some shit on Reddit looking for it. I think I got a bite even, but I don't think it materialized in anything. So yeah, finding this, like I in doing that research before, like everything I read about it was like there were just no answers out there and no one knew who they were or if it happened or whatever. And that's amazing because like a year later in the magazine, there are pictures of the kids doing all this shit, which is fucking incredible, of course. We have John Collins of Goose Creek, South Carolina was the winner. He would bring 3 friends, Robert Phillips, Benny Aries, maybe, and Michael Flowers, and they would be chaperoned by John's dad on a trip to the British Virgin Islands in December of 1990. So there are 4 pictures here documenting it, completely debunking all the pessimistic internet theories, which I may or may not have subscribed to even, which upset me that I bought into it, even pessimistically said that probably never happened. But one of the pictures has the foursome in costume as light warriors. So I assume, let them pick. Like they had, I assume they were able to pick, and they had costumes for whatever they picked. The possibility also exists. They're like, you're the Black Mage because that's what we have a costume for. Right. So I don't know. That's not explained. Yeah, that's not explained here. But we have in the picture, we have Robert as a white mage, Benny as a knight, Michael as a black mage, and John Collins as a master. So it was a very white bread party composition too, which also made me, I don't know. There's 2 ways to look at that. That's very like, that's what the fucking would be in Nintendo Power, so that's the costumes they brought, so that's what they had to pick. There's also, the kids read the Nintendo Power, you even had the picture of the one kid holding the fucking strategy guide, so, so that's what the kids picked, maybe too, because that's what Nintendo Power told them to do in the game. So, all those possibilities exist, but that's what they are in the pictures. And it's fun either way, of course, but the fucking, really cool that this fucking happened. They got to do a bunch of cool shit on top of they had to do like, it says they actually dug up treasures. They had treasure hunt, like adventure. Right? Yeah, they had like really cool Final Fantasy LARPing, type things. LARPing. Yeah, hardcore LARPing before LARPing existed. Fucking. So that really cool thing going on. But they also got to do they did that at, I guess there's a fort there, Fort Recovery it was called. Mm-hmm. So they were doing this in a military fort, which also probably just cool environment history stuff there. But on top of that, they got to do deep sea fishing, snorkeling the caves of Norman Island, where apparently real pirates once stored their loot. So I'm sure there's some cool pirate shit that kids would have fucking loved to see or be part of. So that would fucking is awesome. And they got to hike something called Spyglass Mountain also in that area. So yeah, fucking amazing, man. And with a hometown like Goose Creek, I was actually able to find Google hits, despite the kid's name only being John Collins, which is a very, 2 very common names, but. So this dude is still rocking and rolling there today in Goose Creek at the age of 52. He graduated from Goose Creek High School in 1995, which all lines up timeline-wise. It just all makes sense. And I actually found scans of someone's 1991 high school yearbook that you can flip through, which is a pretty smart archiving idea for the internet. Like to archive yearbooks and then charge people to download them or look at them. Which is a very smart business idea. Maybe we should fucking get into that. Nostalgia hits hard. Yeah. So that's a good business idea. But so that exists. So you can go through his 1991 yearbook, which would have been, I think, his freshman year probably of high school. So that's in there. Pretty cool. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Very cool realization. I was thrilled to see that it actually happened and some kids got to do that. So that's
faith in humanity
really
restored.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, briefly. I'm sure very shortly it'll go away again for me. But a brief aside from all my pessimistic outlooks. So there is some
terrible Mario jokes.
Exactly. Yeah, there's terrible dumbass Mario joke write-ins here, and then they're doing a call for a team photo submission from a 4-player peripheral enthusiast teams that play NES Play Action and Super Spike V-Ball. So they want, like, if you have a group of friends that are like, you guys have decided that this is something you do on a regular basis or are good at, send us pictures of your full team, which is cool.
That is.
Obviously, it's just 4-player peripheral marketing, but it's cool. Then they rip right into new video games for your Nintendo Entertainment System, the cover feature from Taito, Power Blade.
Yes, sir.
And I see that, and we just did our last game up, dude. Is fucking Rastan 2, and that's from Taito. So, like, I see this, that's from Taito. I'm like, oh, fuck, I hope it's better than that.
Very much so. Very much
so. It is. It is, for sure. Yeah. So the table setting blurb reads for this game to give us a better idea what this fucking cover means. They explain it as, something's gone wrong in the automated control center of New Earth. Alien armies have taken the master computer by force and are poised to launch an all-out attack on the unsuspecting citizens. As Special Agent Nova, you have been called to eliminate the alien menace and restore order to the New Earth. First, you must collect tape units from the databases in 6 sectors. Then you must move to the control center and reprogram the master computer. So, as you might expect, I'm reading that, and I'm thinking I gotta collect diskettes and reprogram the fucking mainframe, and you found your fucking man, Taito. I'm here. Like, I'm down for all those activities. Let's fucking go. The data box calls it a 1M by 1M cart with an MMC3 chip, and the power meter averages out to just a hair below a 4, a 79.5%. And it's a bit under 4 on graphics and sound, and then a bit over on challenge and excitement as far as how the distribution goes. And I'm looking at this data box, dude, or the power meter rather, and I noticed the word excitement being included in the challenge category for what I thought was the first time. I thought it was always just challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know, it just perked my fucking ears up, and I start looking around. I look back to the previous issue, and I realize this is an all over the fucking place topic, dude. This changes constantly from game to game. Like, the power meters are different, dude. So some of the power meters in issue 21 do have challenge and excitement, but some have challenge and lasting interest as the wording for the category. And then the power meter chart of all games and issues in the now playing feature, where it just lists all the numbers and kind of that table, just says challenge. So yeah, this is a fucking just an all over the thing, interesting bookkeeping error for that specifically too. I would notice, like, checking the now playing meter here, I would notice that the latter 2 scores for this game were lower in the now playing table. So it was a half point lower on challenge and 0.3 lower on theme and fun, leading to a percentage total 4 clicks lower of a 75.5 instead of the 79.5 that it gets here in the feature. And none of the other games had differing numbers, so it's just a one-off. But
which makes sense, because I was looking at this like, wait a minute, I thought when I looked at that table yesterday that it was the only one with one 4.0, but now I see multiple 4s here. Like, did I just misread that? Like, but no, it's different. That's
yeah,
crazy.
Bookkeeping errors. Yeah, so no surprise. Small team, no one cares, no one's checking you. Not surprising at all, but I did notice it, and when because I'm compiling my database of these fucking numbers, and like I go to do it, and I'm like, this isn't fucking adding up. It doesn't make sense. I'm looking at the, yeah, so sent me on a little fucking, if you want to look up our whatever fucking, that spreadsheet, it's always available on the Google Drive. Link is in the show notes if you want to do your own retro video game research. I am cataloging all those. So that's the fucking situation with the power meter. The screenshots in the opening show off some very high-end cinematic pixel art, as well as a cool-looking map screen, before getting into a decently sized gear breakdown and screenshot maps galore of what is pretty clearly a straightforward side-scrolling action platformer. And the feature itself is a 16-banger that takes us all the way up to and through the final boss of the game. The Leader's Brain is the name of that. And just basically try to stay under the jet-powered contraption holding the brain and aim for the open shutter. Lower disciples, if you want a tip on the final boss of this game. And yeah, that's all you can really do with the magazine. Let's shoot this pig as far as the game goes. You have nostalgia for this, so you're revisiting it. Did it hold up?
I mean, I don't remember all the details. Like, so playing this again, like, I'm sure there's not a lot that really jumped out to me playing it again, like, memory-wise. I just remember the moves. I remember the suit, getting the metal suit and being like, okay, more powerful. That's cool. But, like, very Mega Man-esque, very Batman-like, again, the power suit is awesome. Has good sound. Yeah, it's still good. Still good to me. I mean, not as good as like when I'm sitting at home and it's like a surprise rental that comes home and I'm like, oh, look at this game, and I play it all the way through and beat it before I get to return it. So, but yeah, still good.
I mean, I fired up. The prologue cinematic is fucking fantastic. Nova, your character is a Todd and a half. Like that, the salute at the end of the Superior, like you have the cinematic and the Superior is telling you to watch your backside. Like, while he's saluting, is just a very 80s move, or movie move to the max, so they're capturing that pretty well, I think. And there are 2 difficulty modes. There's normal and expert. And while I am certainly an expert level when it comes to diskettes and mainframes, I went with the normal for my play here because I, just getting my feet wet. And that sector, i.e. stage select screen, is dope as fuck. Really like that. Mm-hmm. And the music track for that and many of the other in the game is an absolute banger. The stage select song specifically really gave me fucking DuckTales.
Yeah.
Vibes. There's something going on there. I don't know enough about music to be able to tell you why or how, but there was something there that was DuckTales-y, and I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it was there for sure.
To me, it was very Capcom-y. I was like, this is very Capcom-y vibes right now. Yeah.
Taito and Capcom are stalwarts. There's probably some maybe some music creator overlap or something. That all those possibilities certainly exist in this ecosystem, so that's possible. But yeah, the music in general slaps for the whole fucking soundtrack, I would say. And you know what this is, Jay? This is fucking Strider, but good. That's what this game is. Strider for NES, of course, obviously. The Strider for Genesis is good, but the Strider for NES is cool. Diskettes, mainframes, Metrovania, cool-ass fucking weapons, shit going on. Cool story, sci-fi, future shit, but awful controls. The controls feel great.
Yeah, the controls
fucking
are
great.
Yep.
Yeah. Command over the boomerang or whatever the fucking blade thing is. The power-ups are coming fast and loose, even though I had no idea what was being facilitated, but I could tell there was a difference and I was enjoying it. Yeah. And yeah, I would play the fuck out of this for a game. This is a great video game. It's
nice.
Very, very, very good.
It definitely made me want to go look up the instruction manual. Like, all right, what is this power up again? What is that? And I was like, I'm getting too deep. Let me stop.
Whole bunch of fucking systems. Yeah, I mean, you can look at the breakdown of the mag and tell that there's a lot of cool shit to get. I didn't get the suit, but sounds dope. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a very pleasant surprise. Again, just like Metal Storm, dude. It's kind of like, I mean, you see something you've never heard of, and your expectation, or my expectation, is that must suck. That's why I never heard of it, And not the case at all. Both these last 2 covers, like a game I've never heard of, sci-fi, kind of worlds that I'm not necessarily predisposed to dig, and the games are fucking great. Like, feel great, man. Like, really, really good feeling video games. So, pleasant surprise. Good job, Taito. Way to redeem yourselves after that Rastan Saga 2 fucking fiasco.
Agreed.
So coming out of that hot and heavy 16 banger where they're fucking focusing on heavy shit like diskettes and mainframe stuff, they want to spoon feed us some Howard and Nestor. Ugh. And this installment is guiding us into the point and click-orific universe of Deja Vu. And they start with a lengthy inner monologue copy thing going on inside Nestor's head. And that is a very distinct creative choice they've never done for any of these. And they're trying to emulate that film noir thing. And I really golf clap for that. I really like that as a choice. It was very in the world, and it's so different from how the comic normally is that I really appreciated that. And even the font that they chose for that is a very buttoned up font. It's like a Times New Roman thing as opposed to the Comic Sans that we get for the dialogue bubbles. So there was just a lot of effort here, I think, to style this as the game world warranted. And that, to me, within the spectrum of how good a Howard and Nestor comic can be, or how good or how much effort goes into it, was worth mentioning, I thought. But
I was going to say, that's a lot of high praise for a Howard Nestor comic. And
I mean, like I said, none of them good. This one isn't good either. But
okay. I was like, where are you going with this, Josh? I mean, they gave me a mental checkout moment the minute they dressed him like Dick Tracy. And I know we're talking deja vu. I'm looking at this and just like, oh, what are we doing? Like, you couldn't give me any worse, any farther away from a Howard and Nestor comic than doing that.
You have such an aversion to the second Dick Tracy of anything comes up. You're just like, you're fucking, you just like shut down.
Yeah, count me out.
Yeah. They're not emulating Dick Tracy. The problem is Dick Tracy and Deja Vu are from the same precursor thing.
The same stuff, same era, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Which again, not my. Whatever. Deja Vu is kind of interesting because it's more serious, like a comicified, like the Dick Tracy, like I don't know, happy-go-lucky parody of that isn't interesting to me. The idea of like a serious subject matter happening in that setting is fine for me. But yeah, Dick Tracy, of course, sucks. So Howie is playing a yellow cab driver here. That's how they get him to Nestor's side in universe of the story. And Nestor is playing or acting as the memory-deprived private eye framed for murder. And he's trying to get into Joe's bar for the whole strip, which is a major set piece in Deja Vu. And yeah, not good. No, Jay, I'm not saying that, but it's probably one of the better ones. And actually later on, at the very end, in the letter from Howie, they tell you, or he tells you, that they have a new comic artist. So that's why we have this huge shift here. That new artist is working on these. So maybe they're bound to get better in your pre-existing... Well, two things. One, they could get better, and maybe that's good because we don't have a positive opinion of these. But also, you have to credit Howie and Gale and Nintendo Power for self-analyzing, self-scouting, and realizing that these could be better. And they made a shift to someone that actually was super accomplished. We'll talk about him at the end, but
fair.
So that's kind of
I like the glass half full approach here. I appreciate that.
We are, dude. What was it that made me have the Final Fantasy thing? Totally changed my outlook on life. This issue, Nintendo Power, totally changed my outlook on life. So from that, next we get a wee little six-banger on a Jalico joint called Totally Rad, and I'd never heard of this either. It's again, I wrote here, like, it fucking, a little wild to me how just that, when that fucking subscription ended, just like, gone, man. Fucking none of this means anything to me. It's fucking crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So this is also a 1M by 1M cart, and it's also got an MMC3 chip. Am I saying that correctly? MMC3 chip, yeah. Power meter scores are a tier lower than Power Blade. All of them are hovering closer to a 3.5 rather than a 4 even rather. We have a 3.7 in graphics and sound, a 3.3 in play control, 3.6 on challenge and excitement in this case, and then 3.7 on theme and fun, and it makes for a 71.5% aggregate. Jay, you want to read that table setting blurb for this so we can find out what the fuck Totally Rad is about?
Totally Rad. Studying magic seemed like a totally rad idea to young Jake from Southern Cal. Under the tubular tutelage of the great Zebediah Pong, lessons were going well until totally grotesque creatures from the underworld attacked. Now, Jake is the only hope for salvation, of course, of the surface world. Jake isn't defenseless, though. He has learned many spells: healing, time warping, transforming, and energy blasting. His skills will be tested in 12 sections of running, leaping, and flying action. And wait till you get a load of the size of the subterranean leaders. They're totally titanic.
So we have a contemporary 90s extreme kid with magic capabilities.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of a fun and different story world for a game. Yeah. It's like Little Nemo, but modernized is kind of what they're doing there.
That's what it sounds like. But then when you turn it on, dude, is this Bill and Ted? Like, is this a Bill and Ted knockoff? To me.
Well, that's the modernization. That's the, again, same thing. Same thing as Dick Tracy, dude. We're taking a precursor concept that both things are just tendriling out from. It's not that it's Bill and Ted. It's that both Bill and Ted and this are that thing. That 90s extreme skateboard X game.
But also
skate or die thing.
The sprite of the character looks like freaking Keanu Reeves.
For sure. For sure.
Now.
No, you're right about that. That is 100% true. That is 100% true.
I looked at that in the opening sequence, which was cool, and I was like, "This is Bill and Ted." Like, we're controlling Ted on this adventure, and I think that's totally rad.
Yep, totally right. Yeah, and the Little Nemo stuff. I was getting that because you can change forms in this game too. So that's also some connective tissue there that I had this thought before seeing that even. So I think there's got to be some intentionality to that, I believe, in the design of this. And the big breakdown on page 2 shows you the 12 magical spells you can use, including the 4 elements. So we have fire, wind, water, stone. Control over those, and then 3 forms you can assume: a lion, an eagle, and a fish. So it's a lot of functionality and very interesting, I think. Potential game mechanics there. So I fired it up with some relative enthusiasm. Jalico is not a developer I think of for this kind of game. They're sports, like Bases Loaded is what I think of Jalico for. I don't think of I don't think of them as doing this kind of game well or much or very often. So some apprehension there, but so sprite work on the opening prologue slideshow is pretty solid. I don't trust that Zebediah fucker one bit. He's a shifty-looking motherfucker. And it is very, to your point, notable how hard they're leaning into the gnarly, tubular, righteous surfer lingo and the vibe of it all. The girl, actually says,
yes,
all the time.
All the time. I was like, that's why I'm like, come on, this is like Bill and Ted. Like, they're just having a conversation with the babes.
Very deliberate choices there, no question. But from that middling 71.5%, they dropped on it, I think, or rather, that 71.5% they dropped on it is pretty spot on. Like, it's not bad. In fact, I would say the controls being the lowest at 3.3 is not where I would direct my ire, but it sure as shit isn't good either. And like the enemies and the flow of that first stage, which seemed way longer than is appropriate, by the way. It just seemed like it was going on and on and on. But that's because the contents of the stage were bleh and repetitive. You're just like going up those stupid hills, which suck to go up. There's like that, your character has like that inability to go up the hill normally. It's like, I don't know, it's supposed to be harder, I guess, but it looks like shit.
You gotta jump over it completely.
Feels like shit. Yeah, it just turns into you jumping constantly, which isn't fun, of course, sucks. He's like, I played through the first level the one time and I was like, okay, there's nothing here. I was like, but like I was gonna just turn the fucker off, but I was like, well, hold on, that's spell shit. Let's see what's up with that. So I go through the second time and bust out the spell book and turn myself into the eagle, which it's more of a bird humanoid than an eagle, I would say. But it allowed me to pretty much cheese the whole level, like boss included, just flying over everything. And that was way more fun for sure, because I didn't have that shitty movement stuff going on. And you still have to make some evasion maneuvers, like the enemies, like they've built in friction to making this choice. There's like enemies flying high and shit to deal with. And it's not short-lived either. Like you stay that way the whole stage. Yeah, into the next level even. So that was, I guess, kind of cool and good. Very, I don't know, good ROI on your magic meter. Like that doesn't deplete while you're like in the form or anything.
I kept waiting for that to happen. Right, I did the same thing. I started fighting, and then I was like, "This is annoying." Doing the jumping, let me turn to the eagle, and I just kept it. I kept like waiting for it to the shoe to drop and for it to run out, but it never did.
Yeah. So that made it a little more enjoyable. I really like Jake's death animation too, when he goes down to his belly and then he throws a tantrum like a toddler, which is a super weird choice. I don't know. It might honestly be second place as far as NES deaths go to the Wizards and Warriors one with his dangling leg. Like those might be my top 2 death animations for the system so far. So good on them for that. But yeah, it might be a mildly interesting game once you really get into that magic stuff, but I highly doubt it's a good game. had all the vibes of just being not quite there.
Yeah.
You know, in many ways.
I was interested in your opinion on this because it was good enough. Like I was having some fun, but there was a couple things like when I was the eagle or the lion, I couldn't figure out.
See, I didn't even try. Like that's how.
Yeah, I tried.
Not good it is.
I tried it out, but like I couldn't change back, and I couldn't really tell what the benefit of it was, and so it was kind of just.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what was the benefit of land-based animals? Would be my question, because obviously the eagle allows you to just fly over all the shitty things. That's obvious. But what the fuck does the lion and the fish? Well, the fish swims, so that's a necessity, I'm sure. But the lion, I'd be curious to know what the fuck that does for you.
Right. Yeah. It just I was.
Did the hills still work shitty? Were the hills better at least as the lion?
What's that?
Were the hills at least better as the lion?
No. Like it was just I just kept dying. Like every time I had him, so I was kind of. I needed at that point. I was deciding to go grab the instruction manual because it was like I need to understand like. And then at the same time, like, when can I switch out of this? Because it feels like I'm stuck. Whatever I choose, I'm stuck with that magical option until I die almost. And so,
I think there is, if I recall, in the breakdown, I feel like they might have mentioned a way to get off of it.
Maybe so. Maybe I didn't notice it because, like, it seemed like when I had like activated fire or something, like maybe I could switch to something else. But once I was the eagle, I could not switch anything else. I'll try to press it. And it was like, it would give me like an error sound, like. I was like, I can't get out of this, and I want to choose fire. I want to choose something. Like, nope, you can't.
I think I tried the fire one as well, and it was just a pretty straightforward projectile. If I recall correctly. Yeah, and it's like they're all available to you too. Yeah. That's interesting. That it's not like things you unlock.
That's what I
so you
thought
have from
too.
The beginning.
Yeah, I like the different. Cool. Like it's a different choice for sure.
Yeah, one of those many things. There's like good idea maybe, but you just didn't quite pull it off, Didn't stick the landing. Which, whatever. Still got bases loaded too, at least. Classified info now. And here we get a stage select title screen input code for TMNT2 from Agent 234, an unlimited continues code for Silver Surfer from Agent 451 that we need to file away in case anyone ever donates a Benjamin to the Able Gamers Foundation and makes us play that. And then the Thunderstaff cheese for SideQuest alum DW2 from Agent 403, and then a rather batshit insane stage select screen input deal for your Ninja Options Game App alum, Shadow the Ninja from Agent 439. And I'm naming the agent numbers there because I have my site, speaking of data studies, talking about the power meter shit, I have my Psychopath, Nintendo Power, classified information, agent data spreadsheet as well, where I'm tracking what agent numbers are submitting for what games and what the codes are and yada, yada, yada. So I dig into this and I start seeing, like, I know, actually, like, there's a few agent numbers now because I'm doing this that I'm starting to recognize. So, like, that's how crazy I am, that I am, like, reading these and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that fucking agent number. So I dig in, and so the TMNT stage select code is from the same agent that sent in the Cowabunga correction entry in the last issue, which was the correct 10 lives code. If you recall, they were correcting the Nintendo Power feature in issue 2 or 2 back from that, where they printed the wrong code. And the one kid said that he fucking he had his mom trying it for him and shit, and it still wasn't working. Yeah, which is incredible.
He's deep in the Ninja Turtles. Okay, turtle expert.
Right, exactly. So exactly. So you have some Venn diagram overlap there as far as, so there must be, it gives meaning to the agent numbers, and they're not just arbitrary, which is really what led me down this road, is trying to figure that out. So there's that, and then the Adventure Island 2 agent number had an Adventure Island 1 code way back in issue 6 too. So not only is it just like, so the TMNT one is from the last 2 issues. So like you can say like, okay, so those are like, fucking like, yes, less issue, the person dealing this remembers that. But all the way back in 6, this agent number was submitting for an Adventure Island game. So I think they're tracking this. There's a, what this really made me think is that we've proved it for one. Also, Silver Surfer continues code came from the same number as another for the game in issue 22. So again, 3 instances of overlap. And I think, it officially proved this theory to me, which means that we have to kidnap Howie and hold him hostage until he gives us the master document, with the actual names, social security numbers, and addresses of these agents so we can talk to these people. Because that existed. If they're tracking the fucking numbers, there's no way they didn't track who the people were. Yes. You know what I mean?
This is Johnny Smith out of Akron, Ohio, who has submitted. Right. We need to talk to him, see what he's doing now.
Right. And yeah, there's so many things I want to know about that, you know? Like, if you're a kid doing that, where, you know, it's like the game FAQs thing, like the people who go and who make 1 million of those, you know, it's like, it becomes part of their life, part of the fabric of their being, you know, you can read it in the FAQs. They're like protective of these things. They think they're very valuable things that they're doing for the community, yada, yada, yada. So like this is like a precursor to that idea, you know, and I envision these kids calling the counselors and like telling them that they're the agent number and they're being in a relationship there and expected like special treatment for it. Like all these things are there, you know, these humanistic elements to this that I just need so badly to know more about, you know. And yeah, it really warmed my soul to come to this really hard conclusion looking at this data here for this issue. So that was really a fun little deal.
Yes, we said it before, but we will say it again. If you are a former Nintendo Power agent,
right in, fuck yeah. I don't think they actually asked for that. Yeah, if you are a fucking agent number, if you are an agent number and can fucking do anything to prove it, please reach out and fucking let's talk about that.
We will give you a full feature episode. We want to talk. Give us the dirt, the scoop, all the behind the scenes details.
Yeah, what shit did you if you can be honest about, especially you're talking about your childhood stuff, you should be able to be honest, no matter how awful it is. Yeah, you should be able to look at it with and be totally transparent about it, I think. To give me the dirt on exactly how that went for you as a kid, it's got to be really fun and interesting to hear. So as much fun as all that is, as far as games in this that we could use to talk about as games, I thought that Hot Bee Puzzler Palamedes was new.
That's not
but
new.
I fired it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I fired it up and like, oh, this is that Clax-like game with the dice faces, which is it's a great little puzzler game, and so good to the point that when I fired it up, I was like, oh, I'll play one, and I could not stop playing it until I was done, until I died. Like that's actually a really good puzzler game. That pretty sure it's already there. No, actually, I put it on the list. Yeah, I added to the shit worth playing list, which I can't believe I didn't do the last time we found that game. That is the Double Dragon 3 Mission 1 Part 2 theme. Brings us into the meat of our Nintendo Power Sammy. And we're opening up here with Activision, who does not exactly have a solid track record on the NES, bringing us a side-scrolling action deal called Swordmaster. The data box assures us we have, yet again, a 1M by 1M cart with an MMC3 chip. And the power meter shit says 63.5% as an aggregate. It's got an average of 3 even on those last two non-technical categories. And that's particularly alarming for me. Those are the ones I probably really care about the most. And that is in line with what I expect out of Activision for this era, which is just cranking out schlock.
I really wish you hadn't started this out phrasing it as Activision. Because I was like, oh, Activision, since they have some great stuff later, but... yeah, this game sucks.
Well, see, for me, Activision starts great. Activision is the premier... they are the first third-party developer ever. They're the premier Atari 2600 developer by a fucking mile. Like, probably 8 of my top 10 Atari 2600 games are Activision, you know? It's like Activision games, and then Frogger is like my fucking... and then Night Driver, probably. Like, that's Warlords, maybe 7 of the top 10. So, fucking, yeah, like, very good... just prior to this for me, but by NES, they're making Predator, which is a terrible game. They're making Super Pitfall. They're making, or not Super Pitfall, just, is it called Super Pitfall? I think it is called whatever the NES Pitfall is. It's fucking, well, the original Pitfall, but not an NES. NES, it's fucking a dumpster fire. It's like one of the worst games on the system, that first one. So yeah, not good on the NES. So seeing that is very red flaggy to me, but. Feature doesn't, not much to say about it I would really go into, but I did fire it up, and yeah, the opening cinematic, kind of cool. Like, I question whether any story is conveyed in it. It's kind of just like a series of cool images with no fucking connectiveness to them at all. But they do look cool. And this game is not nearly as fucking bad as I expected it to be, dude. What? It's not good. It's also not good. Okay. It's another game. It's not good, dude. But I wanted to finish that first stage. And when the Wizzy at what I expected was the end murked me, I was disappointed. Like, I was like, I kind of wanted to play this a little bit more. I didn't, but I kind of wanted to. And it's because they're doing that high-low sword play and shield thing that we just talked about a ton for Roston, and I kept going back to Link 2 for Adventure Link. It's not just a scrolling hack and slash, which if you look at the pictures and when the game first starts, that's what you expect it to be. And you like work through it and you get into these mano-y-mano kind of arena battles as you go, like with mini bosses and shit, where you have to really dig in and squab with these things. And it's not just whack 'em and move, whack 'em and move, whack 'em and move, which is what I 100% expected this to be. So, you know, there's just a lot more to it than I expected and a lot more strategy in the sword battling. In between those, it's terrible. The enemies are samey, they're awful. It's not really any fun going from battle to battle, but those battles were actually kind of fucking interesting to me, and that was surprising.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. To me, this was the worst of the games we've played in this episode so far. Like, I might agree
with that too, but it was still better than I expected. Yeah, again, that's fair. My expectation here is like trash fire, dude. Like absolute trash fire. I don't know. I mean, I again, because I actually did enjoy a part of this. I don't think I had that at all for Totally Rad. So I probably put it ahead of Totally Rad.
Interesting.
But
okay. I actually enjoy Totally Rad more. Actually.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to play it. If you try to get me to play either one of those for a game episode, I'm going to quit the podcast. But it was better. Way better than I expected.
I mean, your sprite doesn't even turn around in this. He just backs up. So I was just like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, because it's fucking... Because that sword thing, I mean, I guess you still want to turn around, but...
It just seemed seemed so backwards compared to other games. That like this one, like it seemed like...
Well, I think it's a PC port, and that is part of... That's in there. That's why it has that clunkiness to it, and that's why it's a little stilted.
No,
but
give me
again...
from the ground up, people. Stop.
Of course. Like I said, they're a trash developer on the NES. I'm not defending them or the game or anything. It's just the story world was cool. Like they listed HP for these things. It was very D&D monster manual style thing going on for this game. To me, it was just very interesting in some elements, which was so much more than I expected it to be. It was really
so they're baby stepping. They're baby stepping. No, this is long before they'll create.
This is definitely better than fucking Predator. This is way better than Predator Super Pitfall. So. Way to go, Activision, to fucking, make some progress on the system. Maybe before we move on to the 16-bit era, you can get something right.
Hey, this is the team behind Call of Duty. Okay, they eventually take over the
world. They eventually figure it out. Yeah. I figured something out. I don't know if they figured it out with Call of Duty. They figured something out. A six-banger titled British Invasion is the Industry Insider Feature of the Month. This is what we were teased in Powerline. And the opening copy of this. The British Invasion. It was rock and roll in the 60s, but it's video games in the 90s. Again, the creations of British artists are taking America by storm. But now, the creative medium is the computer, and specifically, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And this is why I thought this was really cool. They have a map of the UK, then called Britain, if you don't know your Western Europe history well enough. But there are all 11 of the licensed NES developers therein plotted on the map. Looked pretty cool, I thought. And here's a funny fact to me, at least. Today I learned, when I was fucking looking at this map, that London, like where London is in the UK. Like I always just assumed, kind of, like I have a rough idea of what the island looks like, you know. I know the outline of it, kind of-ish. Not well, but kind of. But my best guess would have been that London was in the middle. And it's not. London is in the southeast corner of the UK, and just I was looking at that and having those thoughts, and thinking like, what a fucking American I am to not have any idea where London is on the fucking island of the UK. Is just such a obliviousness to world fucking anything that is. But at least it taught me something. We're learning here, Jay. We're coming along. That's the whole point of the podcast. We, as a collective, here in King Lork's court, are becoming better human beings, and that is to be applauded. Huge breakthrough in this culture gap blurb on the first page. This didn't shake me, but it was one of those things that, like, I don't know, it solidified the validity of our
criticisms,
that we're not just idiots rambling into microphones, that we are identifying things about this timeline and these games and these systems. We are identifying them as theories and then doing the research and the work to prove or disprove those theories. And that, to me, the actual scientific flow of that it made me, again, feel good, this issue. I'm telling you, Jay. Woo! It's just a smorgasbord of fucking warm, fuzzy thoughts. But again, the title headline is The Culture Gap, and it reads, sports games are probably the most challenging subject for British programmers since sports such as basketball and baseball are popular in the US, but not over there. For example, Software Creations' programmers had to watch hours of video footage to gain insight into the subtleties of basketball for Magic Johnson's fast break.
We knew it!
And yes, it does not mention how miserably they failed at capturing said subtleties, but a savvy game historian can read between the lines. So, yeah, like, if you recall at all, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, when we played Magic Johnson, leading up to Magic Johnson's first break, I had the memory, I played as a kid on one rental and was like, this is the worst video game ever. It's the most awful basketball game I'll ever play in my whole fucking life. It's horrible. So I was saying that from square one when we first started seeing previews of it in the magazine. Right. And I had the bet going that I will tweet Magic Johnson directly. I will tweet Magic Johnson an apology directly in the event that I am wrong about this. And when we got to it and played it, I wasn't, and Magic Johnson got no apology. That game is a fucking trash fire, and here we go. Right. Here we fucking go. This is why. The motherfuckers that made it didn't even know how to play basketball. That's what the fuck. What in the fuck?
Like, why are you making that game? Like, who made that deal at the studio?
Oh, so bad.
So bad. Like, what was the pitch? How did you get that deal? And why? Like, what? You just ruined, ruined Magic's rep with that game. It's like, you ruined it.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it's a testament to, like, I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun thing to analyze, I suppose, because we have, like, in Sega Visions, we had those stories about how Joe Montana was all fucking uptight about, and John Madden also, both very uptight about, like, it needs to feel like football. The cerebral part of this, for both, we were talking about a quarterback and a coach here, needs to be in there if we're going to put my name on it, and this is the exact polar opposite of that. We're in a time, and I'm sure there's still schlock endorsements now where they could care less, just send me the check, I don't care what you do with the game. But back then, especially, like, must have been some kind of anniversary or something, but some sort of shit with Platoon has been circling on the internet about the box cover of Platoon, and, like, Platoon is such a great example of this, just like the worst thing ever to be turned into an NES game for so many reasons. And it's a terrible representation of it, and the game is bad. It's the only thing, like, bad work Sunsoft. And it's not even bad, it's just ill executed. It's like probably the worst thing Sunsoft ever did for the NES. Great developer, incredible catalog, but that game is not good, and it's really fucking frustrating to play. And it's about something that there should not have been a video game for. But they were just like, just cut me the check, we're licensing the movie. The studio's like, you're gonna pay us? That's an ancillary revenue stream. I don't care what you do with it. Have fun, And this is the same thing. Magic Johnson's fucking rep team is just like, how much? I don't even know what an NES is, but okay. And then no questions were asked at any point thereafter, So that's exactly what happened here. Because, yeah, if you have any fucking scrutinization, interest or effort at all, you're going to at least ask, like, Do you know what basketball is?
How long have you played? How big of a fan of the NBA are you? And if they say, what's the NBA, you've got a problem.
What's your favorite team? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what the fuck, man? Just, so bad. But, that just, I don't know, it just vindicated. I felt so seen and heard and just felt when I'm reading that, just like, oh my God, I was so right. It is terrible. It's not just my opinion. It is awful. Objectively.
That's so funny to me. Like listening to that, and I echo everything you said. I also, it makes me, despite fair criticisms for College Football 25, it also makes me appreciate that game more because it so much more forces me to like be in the mind of a coach and a quarterback and like to be able to read a defense. And now, like, I've never played football. As much as I love watching it, I've never got to actually play it. So, like, my knowledge of it only goes so far.
I mean, you were the long snapper for the Ohio State Championship.
True. But, you know, people argue that made me not ever play football. You know, make your own, draw your own conclusions.
That's a different argument, yeah, I suppose.
But, playing that game so regularly, it definitely makes me... It's increased my football knowledge to the point where now I can see defenses and realize, nope, I absolutely got to audible out of that. Like, this is going to get blown up. Like... It's amazing to me. So when you have a game that actually puts you in that seat where you want it to be, that's great. Magic Johnson absolutely did not have that.
Polar
you just had a dude
that,
with a ball trying to put it in a basket. Like
I could, the ball would just bounce. It's just terrible. It's so bad. It's such a bad game. But that's the thing. Like, you know, you could show a chimpanzee a video of basketball for 10 minutes, and I think. If you were able to like incentivize it to do it, it would have the understanding of like throw the basketball to the person, you know, like simple things even a chimp could get in 10 minutes of a video. So like the idea they watched it for hours and so miserably failed at capturing even like the most basic things is just so bad, you know, it's so bad because it's just a lack of, they don't care. They didn't care. That's what it is. Like, you can't care and do that badly, I guess really is what.
Somebody had to have, like, had the opportunity and was like, wait a minute, who's looking to make a game? Or like, hey, I need money. You know what I mean? Like, somebody at the studio made that decision for everybody else. Like, that was clearly not we're behind this kind of decision.
Well, it's you know, it's because they're UK based already, and like they have it. They're just out trying to source work, and like they don't care. They just want to get jobs. And on the flip side of that, the real scrutiny should probably be happening on Magic Johnson's team side, and they didn't do that either. So everyone's to blame for just a shit situation, basically. You know, no one is the victim. No one is not at fault here. So they do a half page each on the 4 companies listed on the. Well, hold on first. If you look back at the box of games highlighted, you might notice that's the Magic Johnson developer. I'm saying they also did Silver Surfer and Solstice. So that. Hearing that they did those 3 games, I know you have a little bit of fucking love for Solstice. I think it's misguided, but hearing that all that happened from one group of people, like I think we all need to pile into the Little Brown 86 T-Bird and go kick some fucking ass because they are to blame for a lot of my childhood or a lot of everyone's childhood travesties. I think so. That was to me again just vindicating to learn the history and see it all pieced together. How it fits and make it all make sense. It made me happy. But
it's like that one sports franchise that it's not working, guys. Like we're trying things. It's just
it's top down. It's top down. It's top.
Swap out.
Everyone involved. You just need to go do something else.
We need to change the leadership. We need a new direction. Completely.
Yeah, none of you are built for this. It's the bad choice. I'm sorry. It's just reality. But they're fucking featured here in the fucking thing, so whatever, they're doing fine, I suppose. Good for them. Fuck, who cares what we think or what the entire game verse thinks. So yeah, they do a half page each on the 4 companies listed on the King's Guard hats. We have Rare, Ocean Elite, and the aforementioned Software Fucking Creations. Rare is by far the biggest and longest tenured, with over 50 games on the NES up to this point. Mm-hmm. Starting, very first one with the Black Box series Slalom. So they have been in it from the fucking square one.
Yeah.
They have 55 employees between their UK Birmingham office and the US Miami office. And their proudest accomplishment, quoted in here, is said to be Marble Madness. And I agree that Short But Sweet Cart is a fucking banger. It is so fucking good. And one of only 2 NES carts that I have CIB copies of. I have that and Dr. Mario. So
that's fair. But also, I mean, maybe their most popular thing to date, but they would also go on to make bangers such as Killer Instinct and Battletoads.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, they were like, they owned the N64. Yeah, Rare is incredible.
When it comes to the later gen, they ramp it up.
Yeah. But I mean, they were fucking awesome on this too. They made a lot. I mean, 55 games, over 50 games rather at this point. There's some Captain Skyhawks in there, sure, but which even I attest has merits. But a lot of what they create is really fucking good, and they are on top of the pre-existing catalog. That's fucking a bunch of bangers. They are most fired up, quoted in here as saying the upcoming Battletoads is something they are very excited about. So, agreed. We know that's a banger too, so they keep it up here on the system. Ocean is next, and they specialize in licensed properties. They're located in Manchester, and they have 30-some-odd employees. Their badge of honor is the Untouchables. Meh.
Yeah.
And Elite is the third one. They also focus on what they term character merchandised development strategies. And that sounds like some really bullshit industry jargon of licensed schlock, but Good job for at least telling yourself it's something else. And they do a lot of arcade and PC conversions for the NES as well. They are located in Birmingham, too. And these assholes are responsible for some pretty notoriously infamous games themselves. Akari Warriors, which is one I like, but gets a lot of flack for being very bad. And then our very first game app, Ghosts and Goblins. So, fuck you guys for that. Yeah. And Nintendo Power kind of goes the whole 9 yards in talking about their development package, business model. And I thought that was kind of a weird... I don't know. I mean, this is about like telling you about the industry, so it's not that it's out of place. It just was weird to me that theirs only got this very like so much information is there that someone who wanted a video game made could very comfortably feel like, okay, I'm going to pick up and call them because I have an idea of what they offer, you know. And just the fact that none of the others got this and they did to me was something was a little weird.
Maybe that was their deal. You know? It was kind of like, hey, this is. You know,
yeah, if you want to come here and hang out at the office,
the other studios like make their games internally. We're much more like we'll farm that shit in a minute. Like, tell us what.
Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. They go totally into it. They include like that. There's an initial appraisal and investigation, design documentation, product development, internal work in progress evaluation, testing, documentation, product support, the whole deal. And they spitball the sticker price on that, all being around $75K, give or take. And they are sure to point out that. It does not, that number does not include production or marketing costs that the publisher will incur. So we have numbers here specifically. What's that mean? We got to find those out in $20-$25. So I bring that forward with a 133.2% cumulative inflation rate. That makes these costs balloon to about $175K present day. And honestly, couch cushion money.
Bad.
Let me just go find a cash machine. but probably way less than it costs to make. Well, this is the thing. They're not making AAA games, but obviously in modern day, even if you were kind of farming out a game that isn't like, obviously like Red Dead and shit is like just stupid ass amounts of money. But even like I don't know, what's an example of like a non-licensed but good, or maybe even licensed but not that level of game, I still would think it would be way more than 175K, you know, so... This seemed kind of low for me, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I see those numbers, and I just think indie budget. Like, me and my buddies are doing this together, you know, or me by myself, kind of a thing. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they do not. It's the only one of the companies that doesn't have a specific employee headcount. Very sus.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like they just add it all together and like they publish that stuff. They're just looking for the talent who's already building.
Right. Yeah. And then last, and certainly least as well, is Software Creations. They were founded in 86. They're in Manchester as well. And they have 28 full-timers on staff. They make shitty video games. End of story. We get back to video game features with a six-banger for Natsume's Scat, and they are referring to the special cybernetic attack team, not the varietal of porn featuring people smearing and eating human feces on each other and off of each other, respectively, which is what scat porn is. If you don't know that, guess the Natsume team didn't get the memo, or I don't know, maybe scat porn wasn't a thing yet. I don't know the fucking timeline of scat porn.
This is more than I've ever heard that statement.
I don't watch scat porn. I'm pretty boring in my porn consumption, actually, but
I don't
it's
understand
it's something that like gets joked about. I immediately knew it was something fucking weird. I didn't know it was shit, but I knew it was something weird. And yeah, it's fucking it's out there. So maybe it wasn't out there yet. Who knows? But seeing that, I was like, if you obviously like, it's just a terrible decision. If it did exist, like what a horrible decision, marketing wise. Yeah. So they call this Natsume's first release of an NES game in America, but that is a fucking lie because they are behind ISOH Game Up alum Shadow of the Ninja.
Huh.
Double blessing honoree, no less. So my best like.
But wait, when did this come out though? Because we've definitely seen like this is getting posted now, but I feel like we've seen this multiple times.
No. Well, we might have seen previews, but it just came out for sure. I think what they mean is, and they didn't say it right, but what they mean is it's the first developed for the NES exclusively, or sorry, for the NES too, but for the US market specifically, as opposed to Shadow of the Ninja was a Japanese release they ported to, so I think that's what they mean. They didn't say it here, but that's I think what it means, because it did come out here first, maybe even only. And if you look at the, when we get into what the game is, it's so American, so totally that also kind of plays into this theory of mine, I think. So the data box has it at a 1M by 1M with a lowly MMC1 chip. Not good. And the power meter aggregates to a 71%, but control is up where you would expect it after having jammed on Shadow of the Ninja as much as we did. And the controls in that were fucking dynamite. Mm-hmm. So the most fun thing, looking at this, also just like Shadow of the Ninja, is it's a cooperative, simultaneous co-op experience, which is fucking great, of course. And their co-ed hero team here, again, talking about the ultra America thing, this is just Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sigourney Weaver, bro. That's what this is.
Of course.
Like, and they're not, there's nothing. There's no effort to hide that at all. Like, those are the two baddest ass respective movie actors. Maybe, you got some argument for Stallone instead, but on the female side, Sigourney Weaver from Aliens is it. Yeah, there's no rival even. So she's 100% the leader there, and their headshots are in line as fuck with these two people being who we're depicting here for sure.
And their literal names are Arnold and Sigourney.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just like fucking unbelievable. Yeah, and then their character bios and headshots. So Arnold's reads, he was an average Joe before the president called. Now, with cybernetic enhancements, he is more dangerous than any man on Earth. And the name, the sprite, Jay, lay it on us.
Get to the chopper. It's Arnold.
There you go. Sigourney, she is the match of any man or alien. It says alien in the fucking description. Yeah. A master of weapons and tactics, and her bionic abilities are more than skin deep. So yeah, Alien, Ripley in the Alien movies, duh, just so obvious. So that's all super fucking fun. And then I fire it up, and we get yet another, again, perfectly fitting opening cinematic where we get some dossiers to read. Some uncomfortably long and separate ECUs of the two characters' boots running in a black void. That was up with that. That was weird how long we stayed on that shot of those fucking legs running. But we get that. We get some cyber armies blowing up the Earth, which begs the question that, like, if the world is blown to smithereens already, like, what are these two saving? I don't know. Is that just like a visualization of it that didn't actually happen?
Maybe bombs happening. Maybe it's not.
I don't. No, it like blows up. It's gone. It gets blown the fuck up. And then there's also an amazing voice sample.
You must destroy them. The Earth is counting on you. Good luck.
Considering it's on NES hardware in here, so there's some really good voice samples. So a lot of good fucking trimmings. That's always good to see. And the game is 100% Shadow of the Ninja. But instead of ninja options, you are flying around with a jetpack and wielding heavy artillery that is wildly satisfying to shoot shit with. This is a great fucking game, Jay. This is a really, really, really good video game.
I mean, I don't disagree. It was at this point when I opened this spread up that I was like, yep, this was definitely like peak NES era for me, like I already mentioned, in terms of like reading magazines
Didn't know it exists.
and being able to like play these games. And they were good because there was like, you know, in my mind, each era was defined by the copycats, you know, whether it was Super Mario Brothers and then a bunch of like side scroller copycat games, you know, Street Fighter fighting games and Mortal Kombat, and then a bunch of those 1,000
Killer
copycat,
Instinct.
you know, all those kind of killers and, you know, and so on and so forth. But like this era with like the side scrollers with like Batman and games like this and just like whatever kind of side scroller shooter that you wanted, there was just like a time period when there was a bunch of good ones. You know, there was a bunch of copycats that were whack. But to me, seeing this, I was immediately like, yes, like I don't think I beat this game, but I definitely played this and I remember the spread and everything about it.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely.
It's good stuff. But again, like I said the same thing. I feel like I've seen this, like we've seen this game over and over, but since it wasn't out yet, I just assume maybe that's just
because they look all the same. Yeah. Until you start playing it, they're all the same game. That's why. They haven't, probably. I'm sure there's a preview. But yeah, I don't think it's the happening. I don't think what's happening. I don't think what you think is happening in your mind is actually happening. I think it's just because they're all the same. But yeah, dude, this game is the fucking dope show. And if we somehow don't do a game app on it, we need to jump in and just couch co-op the shit out of this game because it's fun as fuck.
Yeah,
like, a really fucking good game. And 71% is fucking bullshit. Actually, the fucking power meter is bullshit. The 4.1 in controls is probably a bit low, even though the control that's the one that's like okay, they're kind of getting at what this game is like. Mm-hmm. Having a reasonably high control score, but everything else is just fucking I was so like agitated and sussed out by it that I went back and checked our elected Nintendo Power officials here's judgment on Shadow of the Ninja, and sure enough, they gave that game a 70%, 3.6, 3.7, 3.4, 3.3, and that, Lord Disciples, is all bullshit. That is bullshit. Bullshit. Yeah, these are both great games. Great graphics, incredible controls, super fucking fun and challenging, super fucking great theme and shit going on. Like, you know, it's a parody of a, you know, I guess maybe with hindsight we can look at the theme stuff and like find the comedy in that, and maybe at the time you're in it still, so you can't look at it. You know what I mean? In the way that we're looking at it, that they're just so glaringly at the time it might just feel like shitty schlock because it's so glaringly ripping on this major thing, but like they're doing it so unabashedly that I can see, to me, the credible intent in it here, you know, as opposed to just this loose, like, I mean, right now the fucking picture behind me, that's Arnold too, but they're trying to dance around it. Exactly. for fucking whatever, with the Power Blade or whatever that is, you know. So yeah, I mean, to me it was 100% deliberate to the point of comedy here, you know, and that I don't think you can knock that either. So yeah, bullshit, 71% score, way better than that. Play the fuck out of it for a game episode if you want to here in a few minutes. So fucking good. The bedroom wall art on the back of the scat porn screenshots is for SimCity, which I see explained nowhere in this magazine. I thought that interesting. Mm-hmm. Whether this alludes to the NES one that never comes out, or the SimCity on SNES that's not out till August, I think. Not entirely sure. We'll never know. But it is dope-ass artwork of a helicopter up in the city, or in the sky with the city, and there's tornadoes and earthquakes and Godzilla's going on, all the disaster shit on the city below. So, cool-ass imagery for an incredible game for the SNES. I don't know if they're trying to market it here for which system, but either way, like, it never happens for the NES, and it's not happening for a long time for the SNES, so it's weird to me that it's here, you know? I guess they're doing it internally, so they're just, like, making a choice about an internal property that they're hyped about, because SimCity is a big deal, but...
Sure, they hit a design snag on that, and they're like, maybe we gotta hold off on this for now, so...
Right. Maybe it was intended to come down the pipe sooner than it did. But I was very surprised to see it. No question.
Yeah,
especially, I mean, that's such a big, like, they use that for, like, I'm surprised it's not Battletoads again or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
that threw me off too, because I was like, I only remember from like the Super Nintendo forward, so I was kind of like, wait, what? SimCity? Like, I was confused seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm what we've talked about. Yeah. There was like a little time somewhere they had like a screenshot or something in one of these magazines of an NES version of it, and then certainly know that that's out there. And I think it's even been like made playable and it's available now if you want to get. It might be possible. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like maybe in my periphery I've seen that. So it certainly was happening, but again, just uncoordinated marketing perhaps maybe is the ultimate point of that. 19 pages of Game Boy goodness are then on deck. The cover mentioned special feature on handheld gaming. We have a couple of RPGs to start it off. Sword of Hope via Kimco Seika. And then we get some Ultima Shine for the battery-sucking device in the form of Ultima, the Runes of Virtue from SCI. And Sword of Hope looks like a traditional turn-based deal. But this fucking Ultima game appears to be in the vein of Legend of Zelda. Or maybe more aptly for Game Boy, Final Fantasy Legend. Or Final Fantasy Adventure, rather, sorry. One hero character fighting through top-down maps in real time. And I'm not familiar, Richie, but I'm listening.
That's, dude, why would you? Why? Why?
Final Fantasy Legend or Final Fantasy Adventure is a really fucking good game. And and Ultima, again, like, yes, that it is FCI again, so it's probably
Ultima.
Not good. Don't get me wrong.
It's Ultima.
Don't get me
that's
wrong.
all I needed. That's all I have to say. It's Ultima.
The story world of Ultima is great, dude. You can't bitch about the story world.
Yes, I can. I can bitch about the whole game. It is terrible.
That game was just terrible. The game was just a bad job. Too many people love Ultima for the story world to be bad, Jay.
No,
simple as that.
No, just because people love something does not make it a good thing.
That's true. There's tons of shitty comic book movies. I agree, but someone likes it. That's all I'm saying. And that type of game is interesting for Ultima. I never would have thought there was an Ultima game that wasn't, in this era, that wasn't like a party, turn-based RPG type deal. So I was just kind of surprised to see that also.
That's fair.
Arcade/SMS great R-Type has a port in here. I bet it's all right.
Dude, I bet it's great. Are you kidding me? I gotta say, I got so hyped when I saw this because literally the other day I was on the Super Nintendo Online. You know, every month or so I'll get on the Nintendo Online on the Switch and the Super Nintendo and just see what new games. And of course, you know, they got some new games that they've added. And they've added Super R-Type to the Super Nintendo. So, like, I played it. My son was watching me. He was super hyped. Like, oh, Super R-Type is a great game. And so, seeing this, I'm like, yeah. I not only remember R-Type being awesome, but it still holds up now. So, this is a dope one.
I have not touched my Switch. I don't even know what it would have been. 3 years ago, something. Last time probably when I was playing and finishing Legend of Zelda, not the new one, which I periodically will have the thought and check how much they're selling those for because you can only buy you can't either download it for full price. If you want to get the cart, you got to go on eBay. So they're still selling it for like
still $70.
Yeah, the stupid ass amount of money. So I'm not going to buy it till it's cheap. But that is one time I might pick up my fucking Switch ever again. But it's been sitting in that cabinet for a very long time.
Yeah.
I see everyone bitching about the new one is like the same thing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I watched the video also, and it's like the form factor. It's like the same thing. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the same thing, but bigger, and like the graphics are supposed to be. So sure, I've heard like on par with like PS4, so like much better graphics. You know,
that's insane. That's insane that they're making something that's on par with what was by the time it's out, 2 generations back. Yeah, what the fuck, man?
But they're still blowing the industry away with sales. They keep making Mario and Legend of Zelda and keep cranking out freaking.
Isn't that amazing? Like, it's such a fucking. They have so much bad PR too. It's just like they just don't give a fuck. They just don't care.
They stay making money. Meanwhile, Nintendo, like Sony and Xbox, don't get me started. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking. It's what it is. You fucking make something people want, man. Make something people need, not something they want. And people need Mario and Link, bro. You can make your Call of Duties. You can make your Call of Duties and your Maddens and your fucking college footballs. Like, people want those, but people need Mario and Zelda, bro.
Well, and honestly, like, I I always have nostalgia for the Xbox One and like the Kinect and the idea of being able to use Skype on your Xbox. It zooms out to your whole screen. I was always able to like, Skype with my parents back in Ohio, and the kids are small and to kind of bounce around the room. I didn't have to like hold the phone and try to get everybody. Like it just did it for me. Like it was great. And I like the fact that the Switch with those handheld, like the handheld things does that is great. So like for me, I'll always play Just Dance. So like I was putting up, like making a brand new playlist just to do some like cardio stuff. And because I miss dancing, because I never dance these days anymore, like the kids jumped in and immediately did it with me like this week multiple times. I guess that's the other game that I've been jamming on is Just Dance, just putting up together playlists and stuff. And so
I don't even know what you're talking about, but
what
sounds
dude
sounds festive.
Just Dance, real quick. It's basically just a dance game. Like you hold
I guess when you dance, yeah.
You hold your Switch controller in your hand, and it like tracks your movements. But it has all the tons and tons, hundreds at this point of popular songs. It used to be a yearly thing, and we started it like Just Dance 2014, and we got a bunch of additions. And now they just have the one that they'll just add stuff to. But yeah, man,
is that how long the Switch has been out, since 2014?
The Switch? Well, no, we started doing it on, like I said, the Kinect through
Xbox.
Oh,
yeah.
So like we did it like in New York. Me and Zion did it a lot with that, and it was easy. But when the Kinect went away and Just Dance came to the Switch, we were like, oh, we'll just use that. Like that's great. So we just do it on there ever since. So I was pretty much turning on my Switch for.
I know for a fact it's been out since like 2018, so that's not that far from.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, Nintendo stays making those heaters, and R-Type is one of them.
I liked it on SMS. I don't think I've ever played it for anything else, but it was probably pretty good for Game Boy here. Game Boy fucking emulation is fun, dude. I recommend getting do a project, get your fucking RetroArch together and get Game Boy, because an occasional Game Boy game is super easy to facilitate on there, and there's some good ones on there that are fun to play. There is a WWF game that doesn't look all that bad visually, but only has 5 wrestlers: Hulk, Macho Man, the Warrior, Perfect, and Mr. Perfect, rather, and Ted DiBiase. And that live-action photo of the Warrior holding a Game Boy in front of an Olin Mills school photo backdrop is one for the mantle, dude. Like, that is an incredible photo. So fucking good.
Did you have that hair as a child? Was that hair goals for you as a child? To have that ultimate...
The Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah.
No, I told you, a mohawk is what I always wanted, and my parents wouldn't let me get. Yeah. Which is crazy. I can't believe my parents let me. Like, I feel like my mom was somewhat attentive before she died, but I mean, my dad, I feel like he would just be like Adam Sandler and fucking Big Daddy, like, go ahead, Frankenstein, go fucking do whatever, go ahead, go whatever you want. So I can't believe I wasn't allowed to get a mohawk. Which was the idea. It's too bad. It's probably some iota of good parenting credit they should get, but. How amazing would it be if there was a fucking like 3rd grade photo of me with a fucking mohawk? And dude, I mean, I would have wanted the mohawk, like the skate or die mohawk, like formed out tall, not just like a little fucking.
You need like the hawk strip mohawk from Cobra Kai. You need that,
right? Yeah. So I mean, if that would have existed, holy shit, would that be cool? It never happened though, unfortunately. I should do it now. Who cares? Let's just do it now. Fucking that one.
Go for it.
I think all the time to myself.
Rock it.
I think all the time to myself, like, I'm so lucky to be where I'm at hair-wise at the age I'm at. Like, the idea that I tried to grow it that one time modeling in like 2005 or something. And I hated it so much that I didn't get very far. But I think all the time, like, I should, it's going to go eventually, I think. I don't know, whatever. My grandpa on my mom's side had a pretty fucking solid head of hair when he died at 70-something. So maybe there's genes, and they always say it's on the mom's side, even though I think that's bullshit. That's been disproved. But whatever. Like, so maybe it sticks around, and this isn't true, but it's certainly been there longer than a lot of people. So the fact that I've never embraced it and done anything cool at all is kind of a shame. Maybe that's the thing I need to do to really, that would be amazing. I think that would really alter my life. To get a mohawk would really change a lot of shit, I feel like. Just as far as how the world deals with me. The Game Boy Counselor's Corner is mullet free, but does have a few Final Fantasy Legend tips that many a tot had been wandering around in the gaming desert, parched and dying for a sip of, I'm sure, at the time. And then the top 10 is all usual suspects: Mario Land, TMNT, Final Fantasy, Tetris, Batman, Paperboy, Gargoyle's Quest, Castlevania, Dr. Mario, Double Dragon.
Yep. Heaters.
Crystallis, new from SNK. For play on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you up to the challenge?
That is a 1990-ish, you have to assume, SNK Crystallis commercial. It's got that same 80s special effects vibes as the Conan Universal Studios thing from last episode, but with way less money and effort, which is great.
Exactly. I was definitely wondering what we were watching at first. I'm like, what is this for? I was like,
I guess I see. We are starting up our final act on Nintendo Power 23 with a 6-banger on fucking Monopoly from, fittingly, Parker Brothers.
Wow.
For fuck's sake. And they actually do, kind of like with the fucking Howard Nestor, like, I don't approve of what we're looking at here as far as the underlying, under what it is creatively. But I do applaud you for the effort here, because they are trying to justify giving this game 6 pages.
Right?
Which is a stretch and a half.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't need 6 pages to tell us about Monopoly. But they're theming the whole thing like a newspaper. There's a lot of flavor copy to give that like 1930s vibe. There's illustrations galore. There's lots of Cracker Jack fact trivia about the board game. And lastly, quite dense, I would say, Monopoly stratagem. There's like shit in here about how to make your game efforts with Monopoly better. And that's kind of like, if you think back to that Tetris special, like I was kind of shocked when they covered Tetris that they were able to tell me things about something I thought I knew everything about. And they kind of do that here too. So again, to their credit. Do you have a favorite factoid here by chance?
I mean, I think the thing I was surprised most about is the fact that they have like a preset property option. And I think that's kind of cool. Just instead of doing the normal go around the board and like get what you're going to get, like you can start out with like a random like here's the priest.
Oh, an actual game thing. Yeah. I didn't know that. That is cool. I was saying though, like those little facts, the Cracker Jack trivia facts. Was there any of them
just
that
like
stuck to you?
I mean, the one I saw where they had sold, like they built more than since 1935 3 billion greenhouses. That is a lot of freaking plastic, man. That is so much.
That's a perfect. Again, just like that is such a Cracker Jack fact. You know, when people say that term, that dadism, that is exactly what that is, a Cracker Jack fact. Not the number of board games, but the number of little greenhouses they've made for it. You know, it's funny. I like the ones the Guinness Book of World Records ones were the ones that really tickled my fucking fancy. The longest game of Monopoly ever played on balance beams lasted for 200 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's like why, obviously, the underlying thing here is why are they playing on a balance beam? Right. Why is someone tracking that? Why is someone evangelizing that as something to be accomplished? Right. Like, so much about the Guinness Book of World Records, which that's also such a, you know, that is a time capsule thing and a half that, I mean, there's probably some modern iteration of it, but do you think your kids would have any fucking clue what a Guinness Book of World Records is? Yeah,
my kids have. Yeah, because they've talked about like earlier, but it was like, you know, years ago when they were younger. They'd be like, "Oh, Guinness Book of World Records, this." But to your point, like
there had to be some level to infiltrate schools with them because
I feel like
those were huge,
it was always a school thing. I feel like it was always they were always telling us like a fact.
You like go sit down and like look at the ones that they actually had pictures for and shit. You would just sit down and just look at that dumbass book. Speaking of things you just do in the library, is like, just look at that. Who cares about any of this? But kids, oh my God, we looked at it so much. I remember looking at it so much.
It was always the most random things. Like, I feel like
I can picture the rack it sat on in my 3rd grade homeroom, dude. I can picture the fucking metal book rack that it was on.
Like, who and
the window it was in front of.
Who and why played Monopoly for 1,200 hours under the water? And like, to your point, who tracked that and said that's the record?
Right.
Like, put it in the book.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah. That's actually, there's that Stuff You Should Know podcast did one on that, like on the where the book came from, how it came to be, how they function, particularly in a modern context. They are still, I mean, again, they must have some modern iteration, so like, it's probably a dumb question to ask whether your kids knew about it, because they were talking about how this is still, they have representatives that come and like
verify,
verify, whatever. Like that process exists still, and that was a really interesting episode of that. If you wanted to get more information on this, look that up. Stuff You Should Know podcast about the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah, so just crazy fucking shit. But nobody playing this game. Fuck you, Parker Brothers. Right. No one cares about Monopoly.
Like, you did it. It was cool. It was interesting. Fun factoids. But I'm good.
Yeah, we don't need this in Nintendo Power, man. Get a grip. How much do they pay for that? Fuckers. NES Achievers now, a.k.a. Let's Talk Ohio Brethren Achievements, and let that take our hands and lead us down into the deep, dark podcast depths of an obscure Ohio geography lesson. Little Lebowski Nintendo Achievers roster this month goes something like this. Nick Bauer of Fairfield, Ohio, finished Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. You actually like that dumpster-ass game, if I recall. That's
a good game. That's a good game. Like, I'm surprised that it's like something that you put in here as an achievement, but rock on.
That's terrible. That was a terrible game, Jay. Terry Musey in Findlay finished ISOH Side Quest alum Final Fantasy. Congrats to Terry. John Bledsoe in Westerville accomplished the same. Congrats, John. And then David Boggs in Geneva finished Swords and Serpents. And I wonder if he did it with 3 buddies on a 4-score, and or if he would like to join us for a 4-player tag team of it in 2025, so we can send our picture in for Players Pulse next month. And that is it for Ohio contributors that I was able to discern. An interesting note about this month's list, there's a very few number actual scores present. Did you notice that? It's 75% just finished designations without any numerical representation at all. And that's new.
For this point forward, I kind of I remember a specific shift, and I stopped caring about this section because in my mind,
really?
I was also aligned to the same thing. Like, wait a minute, like most of our games don't really have scores anymore. I just want to beat the game. Like me and Jesse just had like a ceremony that we did whenever we beat a game. So like this makes sense. But
what was that? You can't gloss over that. What the fuck was it?
What's that? Oh, the ceremony.
Yeah,
we would make some sound. I can't remember what the sound, and then we would do an X across it and like kiss it goodbye, and then like do a celebration thing. Like,
That's good. That's great. Kids are so.
But yeah, to your point, like we do the game. That's all we want to do. Like these people beat Mega Man 3. That's awesome. That's all we need to know. Like, do we even need this section anymore? You know.
Yeah, and many it's worth saying here. We're not. It's kind of implied, maybe, or a given even, but most of these games do have scoring in them. So the idea that they're just not printing them is, I thought, to me, it was crazy. I mean, genuinely crazy, and like very noticeable. Like, it really stood out to me.
But it's a shift in mentality, I think, in the gaming landscape. We went from the arcade where it was all
I feel like it couldn't have been happening this early, though. Yeah, I know that's a thing that happens, but the idea that it could be happening in early 1991 to me is insane.
For sure.
No, it's still, scoring is still huge on the Genesis.
I'm playing Super Mario Brothers at that time. Like, I don't care about a score at all. I just want to beat the game. Like, all these games.
I probably didn't either, but
I just want to beat the game. Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, I just want to beat the game. Like,
of course.
Little Nemo, I just want to beat the game. I don't have a score goal in mind, nor even if there's a score, I'm not.
Yes, even I'll listen to you that the kids, maybe in the majority, felt that way. Mm-hmm. But the idea that the industry realized it, acknowledged it, and like internalized it to me is crazy. I think.
I don't know.
So
I don't think. I wouldn't look at.
It's hard to argue.
Industry, right here, like the people maybe looking at this, you know,
not looking at it, but the ones making it. I'm saying are.
Well, that's what I mean. I think the people who are in this, maybe especially if they're like game counselors and like, because there's still scores, you know. But I think like enough people. Because there's still scores here, so enough people were probably like, all right, you got to give me the score of Tetris, because what else is there? Got it, okay.
Yeah,
but otherwise...
everything you're saying makes sense, but to me it just seems like something that could not possibly have been understood by the gaming powers that be because of how much longer scores are present. I mean, like, maybe like 64 would be like, maybe it's starting to happen. Like widespread to me in games not having scoring that might have scoring.
But honestly,
like Super Mario 64 does not have scoring.
Right. Like, I don't care at all.
And lives kind of mean nothing. You know, that was like the first, it's honestly maybe the very first game that I could think like that, where they're like, that doesn't matter. Just, you know, get the stars, you know? So.
Yeah, but I think even, like, I would ask you this, like, in any of these games that you had beaten at the time, back in childhood at any point, like, when you talk to your friends about it or brag to whoever about it.
I hear all that, Jay. No, I'm not arguing on the player side at all.
But
of course not.
Like,
and they put those postcards and they ask questions for surveys and they maybe get this information, but I don't feel like they're adhering or listening to it for a while.
All I'm saying is that, like, at this point, when you're sending in scores and stuff, I wonder if people are sending in that they finished like their final cut screen, and that's kind of what stemmed the tide. You got people just sending in a picture of them next to their TV, like posing with the end screen, and nobody has a score, and it's kind of just like, well, it might have been a putting together kind of thing, you know.
That is a fantastic theory, and I 100% agree that's most likely. Even again, I just don't see the industry these old people who aren't even gamers understanding that yet. I just really don't. But it's the only explanation for this. Well,
I just think it happened more organically. In this. Like, I literally think, like in Tetris, they're all scores. So everybody's like, here's your score screen, me and my Tetris. Whereas like everybody else, they were kind of just like, oh, we got 2 here with a score, but literally everybody else is taking this picture.
That is a very practical explanation.
You know, do we list one person with a score and everybody else just say finish it? Like, nah, we can't do that. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, they probably have went a few months where they just excluded kids that didn't have scores, and they're like, we can't keep doing that. Mm-hmm. Probably 100%.
Probably kids writing in like, you didn't put my score. I was higher than this. Why is mine not there? You know.
Right. Because we couldn't see your shitty picture, kid. You didn't listen to our crazy-ass little cartoon about taking pictures of your screen. Yeah. Now, anyways, who gives a shit about that? We have an Ohio geography lesson to get to. The first thing we have to do is arrive at our lesson subject, and we have Westerville. That's a suburb of Columbus. We're not doing that, if only because it won't be any fun asking you to guess where it's located because because you're from Columbus. So that's no fun. We're not doing that. The other 3 options are Fairfield, Findlay, and Geneva. They are all, I would say, about on par with each other in both obscurity and remoteness, but I decided to go with Findlay for both personal reasons and speculative expectations of it maybe having some bizarre and or fun factoids of its own. So, where is Findlay located in our great state of Ohio, Jay?
Findlay is located in Northeast Ohio. I know that because they were very much a team I played basketball against quite a bit throughout my childhood.
I have bad news, Jay. It is not at Northeast Ohio.
It is North Ohio. It's definitely North Ohio.
North Ohio. It's northwest. It's about 40 miles south of Toledo.
Okay, it's north. It's north enough. It's north enough.
It's up.
It's just north. Whatever. It's up there.
Oh, we'll give it to you, Jay. The King Lorik isn't gonna fucking get all gonna penny pinch that. Yeah. So if you're a good little Lorik disciple and well versed in Ohio geography by now, you will know that Toledo is right on the Michigan border. So it's essentially 40 miles south of the Michigan border. And it's right smack on I-75, which passes directly through town. So we are talking firmly nestled in the northwest quadrant of the Buckeye State. And it is located in Hancock County and is known as the second largest city in northwest Ohio, which I thought was funny. Whatever. Partitioning that out is a funny thing to me, but it has a brimming population of 40,313 at the time of the 2020 census, and its nickname is Flag City. And the story for this on visitfinley.com is that in 1968, some dude, John B. Cook, he moved to town. John was a devout member of some outfit called the Sons of the American Revolution, which sounds like a sus-ass fucking group, right? Probably. but he was a member of that and believed so strongly in the value of flying the American flag that he went door to door annoying people about flying American flags on Flag Day. So he eventually would create a fund and raised enough dough to purchase 14,000 flags. Likely because people told him to go fuck himself because they didn't have a flag when he went door to door. So he decided he needs to, okay, I got to provide the flags. Fine. Way to take some initiative. And then this operation would continue annually up until in 1974, the U.S. House of Representatives would declare the city Flag City because of just this ongoing movement happening there about the fucking flags. So.
That's crazy.
That's all well and good, but I don't really give a fuck about that. The reason I care about Flag City as a nickname is because from I-75 near where this joint called the Beef Jerky Outlet that I loved going to whenever I would be going to Toledo or Bowling Green or anywhere up in the Northwest, I would stop at this Beef Jerky Outlet. And near that, you would see this water tower that would say Flag City on it. And Brad Brown was from Toledo, and Brad Brown would always be in my car, or me and Brad Brown's car perhaps, or a car with Brad Brown in it when we'd be going on these trips. And somehow he and I arrived at this, I don't know, like twisting of the words that instead of Flag City, because of like the desolate area that this is in, we called it Suck City. So whenever we passed that fucking water tower, we would say, oh, we're in fucking Suck City again. And that to me is funny and a fun little moniker that we came up with for this particular area. So I knew that would be one thing that I would like about the area of Findlay. And so, the city of Findlay. During the War of 1812, Colonel James Findlay built a road and stockade in what at the time was called the Great Black Swamp region. What a lovely place that must have been to call it that name. And they called that Fort Findlay. And then when the war ended, bam, the community of Findlay was born. 1821 is the founding year. This is the headquarters of the Marathon Petroleum Corporation, Jay. That's a Fortune 100 company. And this is because in the 1880s, Findlay was a booming center of oil and natural gas production. The Great Black Swamp coming through in the clutch with some nice oil reserves. And they'd already raped the land dry by the early 20th century, so petroleum is pretty non-existent in the area now. And that all makes sense to me because I don't know if it's the case in Columbus, but in northern Ohio, Marathon gas stations are fucking everywhere.
They're
so
all
it is
over.
Yeah, no surprise to me to hear that Marathon is an Ohio corporation at all. So, yeah, I mean, and we're talking the 1980s and 1990s here. So despite their running out of land to rape in Northwest Ohio, they clearly found other solutions for raping and pillaging and becoming a Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company even. So, speaking of raping, the most recognizable person in their roster of notables is Ben Roethlisberger, which makes sense how he ended up in Miami of Ohio, living in my college girlfriend's dorm, actually. I met him as a freshman. Still kind of can't believe it. That kid that I met ended up being an NFL quarterback of note. And I don't know if he was rapey at the time. That's hard for me to say. But Lindsay was a bartender at their main bar in town, First Run, for a couple of years there. That was my girlfriend in college at the time. She went to Miami, Ohio. And she said he was a royal dickhead for sure. So whether or not he was raping, to be determined, but a total peckerhead either way. That's some fun things. So that tidbit of Big Ben insight concludes this month of Obscure Ohio Geography, the lesson of it, and I hope you enjoyed it. As is always the case, this portion of our programming is brought to you by the generous support of your mom. With that tangent behind us, we now turn our attention to Counselor's Corner. Jay, are we calling Joel's hair game a mullet inclusive endeavor or no?
Dude, I don't even know. I was trying to come up with nicknames for this. I don't know if this is like the Betty Rubble or if this is like I don't even know what you call
Barney
it.
Rubble.
Like
Barney
it's
Rubble
cartoony. Like I don't know if I would call it mullet, but it's something.
Yeah,
it is. Something.
Yeah, it's definitely got some kind of party going on somewhere.
It's off on the side. It's doing
right.
Like this.
Yeah. Which implies that it's in the back. We can't see, but you got to figure that wraps around to the back. That whatever's going on there. So I think technically it might be. Man.
It might have. I mean, he might have to be put in the qualification because it's almost like he has like bangs too. So maybe
right, exactly. Yeah,
he's trying to do what he can do, but it just looks crispy to the sides. Like
right. Yeah. Here's the thing, Jay. I think we got to give him the benefit of the doubt, seeing as his profile has a ton of character. Like he's got mullet counselor vibes in his profile too. So I think we got to give the actual hair due the benefit of the doubt.
Dude.
So yeah. So his hobbies are listening to music, meh, riding motorcycles, okay, bad boy. And then he closes with a banger, housekeeping.
What?
What are you what? Yeah,
it's this dude.
Yeah. Man, it's got that is such a Tony Bartolucci Delta Chi interview vibe, you know. I actually saw him, dude. I when I was in New York, he lives in Brooklyn now. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he lives in Brooklyn. He's been there for quite a long time now. And when I was there, what would that have been? End of January or something? Yeah, I met up with him, had lunch and shit, and saw. So he's painting now, dude. He's like
That checks out.
He's a full-time artist. He's got a studio, a dope-ass little studio in fucking Dumbo or one of those fucking Brooklyn neighborhoods. And yeah, went there, checked it out. I mean, it's like it's like he's got like easels, fucking materials and shit everywhere. It's like he's fucking got a super ass decked out fucking Apple design fucking hub thing going on. You know, fucking the window looks out at the fucking skyline of the city. It's a dope ass little setup. And yeah, he's doing. Do you know anything about the artwork he's doing?
No, I mean, I feel like I saw something he made recently, but like I don't know it. Like,
yeah, he posts the shit. It is really fucking cool looking art. Let me look up his fucking account right now. Tony_Bartolucci. He's got 2 accounts. His artist account is just the art, of course. And yeah, he's doing. I mean, it's like I don't even know how to describe the like style. It's like very. I don't know, man. I don't know how to call it, but it's very fucking good. I've been noticing it for years. And he's doing a lot of cool shit. He's like designing fucking labels for this upstart beer company and doing all this really, really cool shit. So I saw him. But yeah, in college, for listeners, that gives us context to this fucking totally random tangent we're having here on air or on recording, whatever you want to call it. He was just, I don't know, he's a fucking whatever, cool enough dude. But his interview, so you had to do these interviews when you were a pledge in the fraternity as you go around and you have to essentially nail down an active and get them to sit with you for however long to ask them this set of preordained questions that the idea behind it being you get to know your brothers, your future brothers, and ask them all these questions, and you have a conversation, and you meet each other, and you hopefully establish a relationship that will develop into this lifelong thing that fraternities are supposed to be about, right? So that's the idea behind it. But that's not what it was. It was people, actives, fucking with pledges, having as much fun as they possibly can in every way possible. The difficulty in getting to nail them down and have the interview was always like some people made that exponentially more difficult than was sensible. And then the questions they would give for a lot of the answers, many actually, I would say many of them were very boring, no fun people. But Tony Bartolucci was a savant when it came to interviews. His hobbies were off the fucking rails. I still, to this day, I actually told him this. I don't think he knew it, or he definitely didn't know it. I told him this when we were hanging out. Like, on my acting resume, you have your hobbies. That's like, or not hobbies, but like skills, Special skills, right, is at the bottom of your resume on an acting resume. And for a very long time, they're still on there, I believe. You don't really send paper resumes out anymore, or even the PDF. But a lot of the things he told me in his interview, I put in my special skills. Docking boats, throwing baloney, calling guys not named Greg, like all these crazy ass, and that was all. He was easily the best interview of any active. So, but yeah, his artwork is incredible. Check it out. Tony_Bartolucci. That's BARTOUOLUCCI. Yeah, I think, yeah. So,
shout out Bartolucci.
Yeah. So, but this had Bartolucci vibes. Housekeeping. That fits right into that wheelhouse for sure.
I don't know. I think Bartolucci is way more interesting than these guys, which I call sus. And Josh, are we in agreement that the best NES accomplishment section is now null and void and straight bullshit? Like,
because do we not because of Michael Andretti's World GP, or which other one?
Okay, so completed Solstice with one magician is what Andrew Kreischer says. Lawrence Dunnigan says completed Mega Man with one man. Also, highly skeptical bullshit to me.
All these guys do is sit around and play video games, dude. All they do is play.
Highly skeptical. I don't care. And then Dan, complete cubicle in a straight jacket. Like to me, this is like just like they're just fucking with us. None of this is real. Nobody is beating Mega Man 3 with fucking one.
And that's a funny thing to bring up is that these
come on,
kind of like you were some of our NES Achievers. There's a development of the magazine, and like at first. There's like, they're following these rules and it's like, they have this system and whatever. And then like, they're changing out fucking Nestor's artists. They're developing here and they're turning this into more, they're getting a feel for what this is, what people like to hear, what they enjoy doing with it, yada, yada, yada. And I think this is an example of the game counselors realizing this is dumb, or not dumb, but like, it's not serious. And the more fun, you get on a slippery slope. Once the first person does something a little goofy, now we're one-upping the guy every time we do a new issue here is how can I make something crazier or
and
more
I felt that way with every single one of them in these boxes. Yeah. I was like,
I agree.
Ratchet it up each time. I was like, come on.
Yeah, I agree. You can feel it. I agree. I don't think that means we should undermine it entirely, but or totally negate its validity, I should say. But I feel what you're saying. I know what you're getting at. I agree. But yeah, we're still back on whether or not this guy's profile qualifies him as a mullet counselor.
He looks like a cross between the kid
Barney Rubble
Willy
is so
Wonka
good.
and Willy
Barney
Wonka
Rubble is
himself,
good, dude.
Gene Wilder hair, like without the
Yeah,
hat.
well,
Like,
it looks like exactly. It looks like
it looks like
he keeps the hat on this thing that he took off for the picture, right? Yeah, it looks like he wears the hat on this normally that he took off for the picture. That's a great fucking thing to put out too. But yeah, Barney Rubble was funny, dude. That's good. That's when we get to when we do the next mullet counselor championships, he's got to be the Barney Rubble dude for sure. But anyways, yeah, his best NES accomplishment is finishing first place in Michael Andretti's World's GP, and this is probably the most
normal,
serious, normal / serious one. So this isn't anything credibility. It's mostly just his hobbies that got me giving him some benefit of the doubt here. But I think he's kind of a fucking maniac for his favorite NES game because it's Battle of Olympus. So he's kind of a maniac. Which is that Adventure Link knockoff that's not good at all, in my opinion. So, okay. So he's mullet counselor. We've confirmed that. That's going into the fucking history archive of mullet counselors. Confirmed. So, yeah, no chance of mullet inclusion, or mullet playoff, rather, inclusion for the others. But I do have shit to say about all of them. Andrew Kreischer thinks himself a fucking comedian. Yeah, he's also got some Tony Bartolucci vibes here with his fucking hobbies. He's got making underwater demolitions, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, and gardening. So good on some creativity there, I guess. Dan Pelliater, yes, he has a flair for intellectual gaming. His best accomplishment is completing Kickle Cubicle, and that is
in a straight jacket.
Yeah, right. So I can see these motherfuckers just sit around and fucking do nothing but play video games. I can see someone somehow randomly getting a straitjacket into their lives and bring that shit in, and now they're doing it in the office. Who can beat what game in a straitjacket? Like I can see how the fuck they're doing that. So I don't know how he did it. Maybe joystick that game. You got to push buttons for kick.
I'm like, don't you? Isn't a straitjacket? Aren't your hands like pulled behind you?
Right.
Like, how does that
precisely.
work?
So I was thinking maybe you could lean over. If it's just a control game that you just got to move around, you could do it with your nose and the joystick. Maybe, who knows?
You're gonna complete a game? Come on.
Yeah. It is just a puzzler. It's not like it's high. It's not like he's saying he beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out with a straitjacket. But still probably unlikely, yes. And then Lawrence Dunnigan has the most boring fucking game counselor profile in the history of the magazine. His hobbies is practicing, not even doing or competing or whatever, just practicing Taekwondo.
Talking about practice?
Yeah, right, yeah. Not
That's
doing
all I
Taekwondo.
Do. I'm just talking about practice.
Yeah,
practicing
competing in Taekwondo competitions. He enjoys the practicing of it. Which is, yeah. Playing paintball, which is kind of, that's kind of fun. That's something I've never done in my life. I would love to, actually. So that's kind of a less fucking, probably the least one that deserves criticism here. And then football and video games. It's like, yeah, of course video games. You're a fucking game counselor, man. Like, tell me something interesting. But his best NES accomplishment is beating Mega Man with one man, not life. And then his favorite game is also Mega Man. It's just like, some sort of flair there, dude. Yeah, come on. Man. That's where we're at with that. There's also some game questions answered in this feature. If you give a fuck about video games and not just mullet counselors, I don't know who fits into that category, but we have a few for Immortal. No idea if they're tough spots because I've never gotten anywhere beyond the first fucking level of that video game, but I am interested in doing so. And we have Destiny of the Emperor, which is maybe a side quest for us one day. Gets 2 Qs addressed. And then ISOH Game Up alum TMNT's Mess of a Third World Overworld Map is talked through. And then Star Tropics has some shit about a spaceship in Chapter 7 as the closer, and played that game a little bit, both of us have. I did not expect spaceships being part of that game, so, so
one day we'll try it. Maybe we'll get to experience it.
It's on the list. We got to finish Phantasy Star first, Jay. Which I think we're close to. Players Poll this month is a Konami Jam, hyping up the release of Bill Elliott's Super NASCAR Challenge that will be happening in June, or rather coming out in June. And the grand prize is a trip for 4 to a NASCAR race, as well as the game and a crew jacket. Second prize is a copy of the game. Cool. Top 30 is after that. Very little pink on this list, which means not a lot of newcomers. A lot of stalwarts. We only have 6. Star Tropics at 19. Jeopardy, this is newcomers, Star Tropics at 19. Jeopardy 25th Anniversary Edition. Battle of Olympus and Skate or Die 2 at 22, 23, 24. Wizardry at 26. And then Jordan versus Bird at 28. That's crazy. That game's terrible.
It's only because it's new. People don't know yet.
New, and then it's those 2 people, so it's licensed stuff, Top 10 goes hard on sequels up top. We have SMB 3, Mega Man 3, TMNT 2, and then continues on with Final Fantasy, Dr. Mario, D-Dub 2, Crystalis, Legend of Zelda, Tetris, and NES Play Action to round it all out. Kind of fun to see NES play action up that high.
Yeah, you can't. The top 3 are inarguable. Like you can't even.
No, I mean, I wouldn't talk shit about any of that. Top 10 universally those are all good games. I can see at a point in time all 10 of those being highly regarded. So, no arguments for me. As far as ISOH Game App alumni representation in here, we have SMB 3, like we mentioned, up top. We have Mega Man Deuce at 11. We have TMNT Uno next at 12. Castlevania 3 at 15. Maniac Mansion at 17. And Punch-Out, albeit Sans Iron Mike, at 18. And then we also have 2 SideQuest alums in the top 10. Final Fantasy and DW2, as I mentioned. Now playing April 91, let's talk about future, or shit currently out, rather, that doesn't deserve, as they describe here in the very first paragraph.
A 6-page
This
spread.
issue's review, exactly. Does not deserve love, basically. This issue's review of decent releases that didn't quite score feature coverage. Decent is such a hard, I don't know, it's just brutal.
Interesting way
brutal.
to put it.
Brutal copy choice. Did not score feature coverage includes a look at some very highly anticipated games. Here's looking at you, Double Dragon, rather. It's up to you to decide whether they lived up to their potential. Stop by your favorite store to see if any of them are up your alley. So yeah, it didn't make the cut. Publishers, cope. And then you just have to go fucking buy them and see if you like them. And mom ain't driving your ass back to the store to exchange it if you make a shit call. So cope with that as well.
And that's an insane way to put this, because Double Dragon 3 is the best Double Dragon. So that's madness.
Interesting you say that. Well, that is what we have to talk about first. That's the first one in here. It is a Technos and Acclaim collab yet again. And the story setup sounds pretty low effort, but the gameplay sounds like it's really ramped up the couch co-op incentives, and I like the sound of that. When I read the part about you can switch characters to former baddies after you've melted some bosses. That's super fucking cool, of course. So I fired it up, and I immediately, absolutely certain I'd never played it, because that character stuff, that was totally new to me. And looking at the stats, too, I guess before we talk about the actual game, it gets a 68.5%, and that's a yeesh number for a Double Dragon game, I feel. We have 3.5 graphics, 3.3 in control, 3.6 challenge, 3.3 theme. And
That's madness.
I don't know if I disagree, to be honest with you. They got a banger opening music track on the title screen. No opening cinematic before or after it, though. That kind of sucks. There is some decent pixel art of shirtless Billy in the pregame slideshow, but overall, pretty weak job on the table setting, and I was already seeing the 3-3 in that last power meter category, the theme, coming to fruition, in my opinion. But you do start at a dojo. That's cool, Jay. I like dojos. But you have to kick a starter pack guy's ass, and then some guy tells you some shit that doesn't really matter, and then dies. And then you have to kick a couple more guys' asses before you can leave the dojo through the dojo door. And then you're on the street, like much more traditional Double Dragon shit, ass-kicking time. I got worked after maybe 4 or 5 henchmen. My hand and forearm were already hurting for jamming on the buttons. And it was game over on the very first death. So that happened. I didn't want to play again, another level. And I was thinking, like, it's got to be better with co-op. I hope it's better with co-op. But I see what they're complaining about.
It's way better with co-op, but also, like it's supposed to be harder. Like, the other Double Dragons, like, we've talked about them. I've played through them as we've, been podcasting, again, multiple times. And this one, A, it's supposed to be harder. B, there's that variability because you are able to swap to enemies once you beat them. So the interplay with couch co-op, because there's certain moves you can do with your teammate that you can't do on your own. There's just so much more that you can do with this, but you gotta like the Double Dragon games and that style, and you know what I mean? So if you like those, you'll love this. If you're kind of like, on Double Dragon, then you probably won't like this one.
Yeah, it definitely felt very button jammy to me.
But it's good, like I said, because there's a lot of different button combinations in this, which is fun.
Yeah, that was the thing too. I couldn't reliably do anything other than punch and kick, so I understand that a manual read will probably make that better, So that was present there, but yeah, it was not some like, ooh, this is 2, but even better. Was not my initial impression. We get more Acclaim bullshit next. Bart Simpson versus the Space Mutants. They know this game is bullshit because they give you a first-level map and so much explanation about all the Metroidvania-ine you have to do on it to advance.
Because if they didn't, you'd be angry AF.
Right, exactly. But you never see that now. You have not seen that Now Playing. They don't do maps and shit. So to me, I feel like that was Gary and David being like, listen, please, we got to include this to eliminate the upstart friction or we're going to have some problems.
Because the worst thing is getting that game as a rental, not knowing how it's going.
What the
and then
fuck
you're just
to
like,
do, yeah.
This was a waste of $3 if it's a $3.
Yeah,
You know
right,
what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we said it, both of us said it, I think, when we saw it in GamePro and we did our kind of plays of it. It's not as bad as I thought once you wrap your head around that shit. Once you know what your objectives are, I kind of...
But back then, if you don't know how that works, what you're doing, you're just like, this is not a game. This is not how games work, bro. This is not what I wanted.
Yep. And they hammer on it too. They 59% aggregate. That's fucking low as shit for Nintendo Power Score. And that 2.4 in play control is the biggest reason why this game is bad. Yeah.
100%.
The hitboxes, the movement. That again, we've talked that floaty thing. Gary and David did fucking love those guys. Did not have NES physics. Their understanding / implementation of NES physics, not good. All their jumps are like that floaty, weird, bad feeling thing, and this game is that in spades. Data East already has their RoboCop sequel ready for our cartridge slots, RoboCop 2. Despite a 3.6 in graphics and sound, it still gets a 59% aggregate because everything but that fucking sucks in this game. What is with the ice level shit in the movement, dude? What is that about?
That's
like, why does he slide?
Exactly what I wrote. This slick.
Yeah, why does he slide like that?
Like,
what was that? Like, what? Like what? RoboCop? Am I forgetting something about RoboCop 2 that whatever? I don't like. What RoboCop phenomena are they trying to replicate with that? With those physics, like,
I don't know. I'm like, does he have some kind of like jet packs on his legs now, where he kind of like jets?
Right?
Like,
does he? Like, yeah. Like, I haven't watched RoboCop 2.
That's my only explanation in it.
I haven't seen RoboCop 2 in so long that I feel like I have to be forgetting something, and I don't think I've actually ever watched 3. I just know it's bad. Yeah. So,
same.
I feel like maybe I just don't know something. There's got to be it's insane to add that. It's insane to have no reason to add that and to add that to the way the RoboCop moves. Because, like, his whole thing is...
Like, was it like that in 1? I don't remember.
No, 1, he was super clunky, just like he is in fucking... it was cool, because it felt like he is in the movie.
Maybe they were trying to make it better, and instead they made it worse.
I guess, man. It was fucking terrible.
That's the only thing I could see, because I was ready. I was like, don't even bring this game up for consideration.
Yeah, man. All the cool shit from the first game is gone. Not being able to... Like, in the first game, you couldn't use your gun sometimes because you're a cop. And you can't just shoot people as a cop, especially a good cop, which he is supposed to be. So that's gone. You can't fire up in the air anymore. It's just like a run and gun, shoot straight ahead thing. That's awful. Like, part of the cool part about the first game was kind of like you were clunky in movement, so you would stop and kind of like plant your feet and then shoot at angles and like use the whole, just all the things that made the first one even kind of interesting and what made the arcade game dope as fuck. Is gone here.
It seemed like they were just trying to make it more of a streamlined platformer. And
exactly. So fucking bad. It fucking sucks, man. What a crime against one of the greatest film properties of the 80s and 90s. Just an absolute atrocity of a video game. Fucking terrible. Base Wars is a Konami joint released under the Ultra label, and I've been talking about this game on this podcast for a very long time, so I was excited to see it is ready for us to jam on. Really?
So, because of that, I saw this and I was like, I know I played this as a kid. It's going to be good. Like, but when I played it, it just felt like robots playing baseball. Like, there was nothing special about it. I'm like, what am I missing outside of like, being able to just like charge up my pitch? Like, am I just misremembering?
That's cool. I like that. I actually like that a lot about the pitching, that charge function. But it keeps you more engaged in pitching than I think you normally would otherwise be. Especially if you're, it thinks it's more engaging. So, well, I think maybe first we talk about what is this robots playing baseball? Like, I think to get to why that's the case. The opening paragraph of this, as well as the box cover, suggests this is a kicking off of something called Konami's Cyber Stadium series. So my takeaway from that being that this was like they were going to make like what was the fucking
football, robot soccer?
Right, exactly, right. Which I don't think they ended up doing. So I'm here for that agenda, but I don't think it got executed. So that's kind of a bummer. But the Power Player tip explains why. Again, these little blurbs, and they've added this thing, Power Tips, like just a little tip for each one, which is new too. So maybe that explains the mapping a little bit for Bart Simpson. And obviously Bart Simpson's a big property, so maybe you can get to, like, this is just something they're doing now, and that one got a bigger thing because Bart Simpson's an IP that means something to people right now. Whatever the case, the power tip for this one says, unlike MLB baseball, where they usually put some mook who is borderline incapable of anything but swinging a bat at first base, you need to make sure your first base robot is equipped to tango, because in this game, there are no umpires. So anytime there's a close call to be determined of anything, like at a base pad, the robot participants in the play fight to the death. Did you have any battles?
I did not have any battles. Like
that's Jesus Christ.
That's the crazy thing, because like we got every hit, whether it was me or the computer, just got on base. Like there was never any battle. That's crazy to me.
Okay, so yeah, so
if it's innings, that's nuts.
If it's a close play and they are going to throw you out, you can't just get thrown out. Like there's no, at least I don't think. Maybe there's force outs if you really are really far away from the base. Maybe it just puts you out. But if it's even kind of close, it cuts to a side kind of, I mean, it's proto and a half, and it's honestly probably the worst part of the game as far as how much you can do with the battling, you know? But they do all have different weapons, and you can buy different weapons for them, and because that's the thing. That's where this game really shines, I think, is and kind of like Baseball Stars, you can play a pennant mode where you have it and you build your team and develop your characters and buy new robots and upgrade your robots and make them better. And, you know, there's a whole progression thing to every single player on your team. So that is, of course, you know, we're talking some fucking Madden franchise shit there that's super fucking interesting and well done, I think, in this case. But yeah, the whole thing is that you have to battle for your fucking to get on base, and it's, even if that's the worst part of the game, it's still super interesting and fun, I think, at minimum in concept. In application, I think there are some shortcomings, maybe, but it is super fucking fun in idea, at least, you know. And I think there's enough there with all the team management shit that if you really dove into it for a game episode and built all that out and really started buying shit for your... That's the thing, you can get murked, dude. You only can lose 3 or 4 robots in a game, and you start running out of robots, and then you just don't have a robot at first base, you know, which is fucking amazing. You know, it's really punitive, and I think whatever, just fucking no bullshit. That is kind of a fun thing. But yeah, you earn money and you spend all that shit on, and it's like a cool ass development baseball game, an RPG baseball game almost, with this really cool robot thing going on. And you know, and obviously you have to have good baseball for that to work, but I think it's just as good as a Bases Loaded 2. I don't know. I'd probably put it between RBI 1 or 2 and Bases Loaded 2 on the spectrum. It's right around, maybe just a hair better than Bases Loaded 2. You still have the shit where hitting to the outfield is goofy. They haven't figured that out, and you're kind of just lost while the ball's in the air, and you don't know.
Like, where's my character going to be?
Right, exactly. But as the same way as in Base Loaded 2, you play the game and you just learn. You just somehow, I don't even know how to explain how you know, because you still can't see it. But you just know where your guy is, and you're able to kind of get there fast enough by the time the ball comes on the screen. Your ball and the player are on screen. So I didn't play it enough to get there, but my expectation is that that's how that gets fixed. And otherwise, yeah, it was, to me, fine as far as controls go. Batting and pitching all felt good. Yeah, I like the charging thing with the thing to like determine the speed of the pitch, you know. That was pretty cool to me. They have cool ass cinematics with the fucking robots when you first turn it on. That's all super fun, super fucking fun. The home run, dude, I hit it. Did you hit a dinger?
No, not at all.
I hit a dinger, and yeah, it like cuts to outer space, and it's like...
Yeah, they hit a dinger against me, so I saw
Okay,
that.
so you saw it. Okay. Okay, yeah. So the stadium is like just like floating on like a asteroid or something in space, and then it like cuts to that, and you see that in the distance, in almost the background kind of, and then in the foreground, like a space station slides in from right, and the ball flies out, and I think past, and then maybe a spaceship flies out of the space station and kind of like paints home run in space, you know. So pretty cool fucking home run animation that made me feel happy about hitting a home run on top of just doing it.
Must have been a good feeling, Josh. Must have been a good feeling.
Yeah, I was, I played maybe 2 innings. I think I was up 2-0. I hit that 2-run dinger. I didn't score otherwise, but I was able to, I pretty quickly devised like some pitching mechanics that very similar to RBI made you a little bit unhittable, I think, to the computer. Not 100%, but kind of close to. So that was quickly discerned. So, and maybe that changes the difficulty, but that was something I noticed that you could argue maybe that it gets a little too simple too fast. But yeah, I played 2 innings. I did not want to stop. I was interested in the baseball game, and the team management stuff I think would be fucking really, really fucking dope. And yeah, I mean, the scores, I totally disagree. Like maybe point out the battle mechanics being simplistic makes the controls stuff, that criticism, fine. But challenge, I mean, you'd have to play it more to really be justified, but that seems crazy to me. I doubt that they put in enough, just as we aren't for this game, fucking, playing here and now playing. We're not doing a whole fucking franchise multiple game thing. I'm sure they didn't either for this. So them criticizing the challenge long term, I think, is crazy. And yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with this at all as far as 65% is a super fucking low score for them. And I mean, Jay, it's springtime. Pitchers and catchers have got to be reporting to their grapefruit leagues or whatever the fuck it's called soon in real life. We've only played 1 baseball game. RBI 2. Bro!
Dude.
We'll talk about it later.
Maybe.
We'll talk about it later. Kimco Seika is informing readers of their next Mac Venture report here. This one is a semi-modern horror-themed deal. And I played the fuck out of Shadowgate. I've dabbled with Deja Vu. I barely even fucked with this one in my lifetime, so I don't know much about it. I think I fired it up via emulation one time, just because I knew it was in this from these same developers, and I wanted to kind of see what was what, but I didn't stick with it. I think I died pretty fast. And I know, man, these games are tough. I feel like one of them should get some love from us at some point, and we should take the time to play one of them at some point or another. I feel like Deja Vu is the one that needs to be, because I can't know everything about the game, and I think that's the better out of these 2 new ones. I know it's a hard argument, but the power player tip for this is the most important thing to remember while playing is to save the game whenever you collect an item or reach a new point. Danger lurks around every corner, and your journey could end almost instantly, which is like exactly what's wrong with those games.
I started it up and immediately turned it off.
Yeah. The theming and the writing is so good, though. It's just getting past that UI stuff. Metal Mech and Zombie Nation get quarter pages of quasi coverage. We fucked with both while reading the last Game Pro. Metal Mech is like a poor man's Blaster Master and gets a 63.5%. Zombie Nation was that wild-ass flying shooter where you control the samurai head and do rampage-type shit, and this got a 63%. It's kind of nuts to consider either as a game app, but this is a democracy, so talk to me in the next segment if you disagree, Jay. To close us out on these, we have Kiwi Craze. It's a 66% scored platformer. Here, we've also seen that, and then there are 2 tiny blurbs for Tecmo World Soccer from, obviously, Tecmo, and then a Beetlejuice coming at us from LJN's licensing schlock cabinet. Tecmo Cup gets a 58.5%, and the shit sports games are maybe the worst kind of shit game, in my opinion. And the opening slideshow is fucking incredible for this, which I guess it's worth reading. He was born to play soccer his entire life. His name is Todd McTotterson. His father was a famous player. I'm better than my father. And that's just the end of the story. So and it's like, yeah, he gets on a jet. I think there's one more. He says he gets on a jet, and then he's, we're playing soccer with Todd here. And it's just fucking, I don't know. Like, you just got to be insane to start your video game that way. I think Tecmo might be my favorite. Like, not the games. There's obviously great games, Tecmo Bowl, right. Ninja Gaiden, yada yada yada. But I think like the wackiness of early Tecmo games in the NES. Like, I think they're the wackiest developer. Like, they took this shit the least seriously in a good, creative, fun way, that I think, because, like, even like the Tecmo Bowl, especially on the first one, Super Tecmo Bowl, or Tecmo Super Bowl, goddamn, I always did that wrong. The animations, cutscene things are a little more serious, I think. But the original Tecmo Bowl is kind of like, there's a little tongue-in-cheek to it. You got, like, that little Tecmo fucking mascot dude. The Bomber Jack guy is involved. The high five thing is kind of comic-y, There's just some things in that first one that make me feel like they were kind of doing that with comedy in mind. So that's fun. I think they're kind of fun. And then, so did you play this game?
Soccer?
Yeah.
Of course not. I hate soccer. Like, no, not at all.
I actually like soccer games.
There's no reason. Not that I've never played a soccer game, but like, I'm not playing a soccer game. Like, that's just not that I've never done it, but I'm just not doing it. I don't care.
FIFA 64 was one of my. I got it when I bought that used 64, so I ended up playing quite a bit of FIFA 64, the original one, and it was kind of fun. And FIFA Modern is like huge. I mean, obviously, soccer, it's just like Madden for the rest of the world, basically. So it's well revered. So soccer games, I think, can be fun. This game is insane, Jay. This is. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a soccer choose your own adventure. It's not an action soccer game, dude. It's like you just enter word commands and then cinematics would play out. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen in a sports video game in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure. Like, I kept thinking that it was like the start of a story mode or something that was going to change and I was going to start playing soccer, and it never got there. Like, I played like a whole first quarter and it's crazy as fuck, dude.
What is it? A sim? Is that what you're saying?
I guess it's kind of like a soccer RPG, and I've heard that before.
No thanks. Even double no thanks.
It's insane. It is an insane thing, dude. I don't even know. Yeah, it is just, I cannot believe. Like, let me read this blurb, actually. Because I don't think they're playing the games. Because there's no way you could play this game and not talk about how insane this is. Their entire blurb for this reads, great play control, crazy because you're not controlling the fucking thing. Although they're showing a screenshot where it looks like it's top-down soccer. Yeah, I don't understand this.
It looks like soccer. It looks like a normal soccer game.
That was not my experience. That was not my experience, dude. But yeah, it says an easy-to-follow overhead view makes tech... Yeah, so they have a screenshot, though. I don't think I clocked this when I was making this fucking point in my head. Like, I don't know how to get to this. I don't know how to get to that. I was playing a Choose Your Own Adventure. It was fucking crazy. And yeah, it says... As much of a boon to soccer as Tecmo Bowl is to football. You're a fan of the sport, you'll have a fun time with this two-player simultaneous representation of the most popular sporting event in the world. And yeah, man, that's not what the game was for me, and I don't see...
Did you play the right version?
I guess I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was... No, yeah, there was only one Tecmo World. Yeah, I don't think so, man. And I guess, yeah, I get to that. I don't know how you get to that, but even if you get to that and can play it, I feel like you got to talk about what I experienced. I feel like that has to be mentioned here. Like, what the fuck is that? And tell me something about it, because it's unlike anything I've ever seen in a sports game for the NES in my entire life. So yeah, if you haven't played that game, go get the ROM and check it out. Lord Disciples. It is fucking crazy.
Interesting.
And the last thing we have is fucking Beetlejuice. It's developed by Rare, so you would hope it's good, but this is like we were talking about. Sometimes Rare just does shit for jobs and whatever. It's bad. This is very bad. Nintendo Power is firing some shots over LJN's bow right at the top of the blurb. It reads, bearing a striking resemblance to LJN's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And yeah, it is so fucking bad. It's kind of funny bad, I think. I kind of like I played way longer than I should have played this game. You start, I died, Jay, probably a dozen times on that cloud. Mm-hmm. Did you get to the cloud, and there's no explanation of what to do. And I just kept trying to jump to that next thing. Really? I kept just falling off. And like, I was so irritated that I would die, and I'm already holding the button to the right before I would the screen would come back up with the character there. So I would just fall right off the cloud again, and I couldn't stop doing it. It was weird. I was stuck in a frustrated, angry loop. And like, I died so many times. I did think, like, oh, maybe I need to do something with that house. So I did backtrack to the house eventually and go in the house. And that's also terrible.
Like you
so it's
not
not like,
way too much time doing that.
I do way. I mean, probably 7 minutes, which is like 6 minutes and 45 seconds longer than this game should get.
I only died like twice, and then I was like, wait a minute, I just passed the key. Let me just go back. There's nowhere else to go.
Right. So, yeah, but so you go in the house, and because that was the thing, too. It's like, it's Beetlejuice. It should be in the house. yeah, like, that makes sense. So that kind of got me there too once it clicked. But yeah, Inside's terrible. It's an awful side scrolling jump over, get killed by things.
Yeah, controls are frustrating. This is a no
awful,
thanks.
awful, just terrible. Yeah, and I get it. Like the idea, like calling it a Metroidvania, is like I feel like a
slap to Metroidvania.
Exactly, it's a slap to the genre. You do have to backtrack and get that key, and then go back to the house. So technically, yes, but just a straightforward, terrible action platformer, I think, is a better description of it.
Yep.
So now we take a gander into the future of NES game packs and Pack Watch. We got Rare and Tradewest Battletoads getting a full page. That's the only hot new designation, and they divulge that they got to play an early dev version at CES, and even then they could tell it'd be a big-ass hit. So immediately we know we have a banger coming there. Other than that, I could give kind of two flying fucks about the rest, except for a couple of mentions of upcoming releases of new installments for SideQuest veterans, Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy, and the Blabber bonus CS Quick Hits section. They tell us that DW3 is teasing some new game systems, career changes for the characters, day-night stuff, and then reminds us that U.S. gaming peasants are having this game not even here yet, while Japan is getting ready for the fourth installment already. So they remind us how far behind we are. And then Final Fantasy II is also explained to be hitting the SNES in the fall. So this is the first mention that it's going to be in the SNES. So that's obviously a big shift to the idea that we were going to get a Final Fantasy II on the NES, So that's interesting. And they also mentioned that it's the fourth game on the Famicom. So that was already decided too, that we're we're losing some basically. And so it's more deprivation for the Western world, basically, on this RPG shit. And then it also mentions the Final Fantasy Legends 2 for the Game Boy will be out soon, and that is also a good game. Do you care about any of this? Okay, I want to ask. So you were talking about having, I know what these games are. Vice Project Doom? This is another game, like, it's clearly going to get a cover. I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it.
No, I didn't look into it, but it didn't, like the name, like I remember Vice, and I know, like whenever we see the cover of the game, I'll be like, oh, I remember that cover. But like I didn't dig too far into it, so it didn't really jump out. Reading this didn't jump out to me in any case.
Okay. You're not a big Lone Ranger fan?
No, not at all.
Huh.
Nothing to me.
Jade, I actually had a Lone Ranger action figure as a kid. Just one, the main dude. The usual outfit that you think of for the Lone Ranger, if you are able to even think about it. But it resided in my bin of like junk toys that were not like bullshit action figures where I didn't have collector cases or a whole collection or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure my guess would be that was a dad byproduct. He was definitely into the Lone Ranger as a kid. He liked those westerns and shit, and he just bought that at some point and gave it to me. That to me was like
expected me to care for us. So like seeing something like that was kind of like, man, I don't care about this at all. Like I care, like reading all this now, I care more about Dragon Warrior 3 and Final Fantasy 2 now because we've been side questing, those franchises. Sure. But otherwise, just seeing this, I would care about none of these.
All bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Celebrity Profile has gotten pushed all the way to the back of the mag now, and I feel like that does not bode well for it continuing to be a thing in the magazine.
Yeah, righteously so in this case, I would say.
Yeah, it's Jeremy Miller, and this time he is best known at this point for being Ben Seaver on Growing Pains. And that is the younger brother to Kirk Cameron's character. Jeremy tells us about how big of practical jokers he and Kirk are on the set of the show, getting into food fights all the time, and I'm sure the show's crew fucking loves cleaning up after that. And then he talks a little bit about how auditioning for acting roles fucking sucks. Even though, he's a fucking kid, so he didn't sound like he had to fucking try all that hard for too long.
Right.
But whatever, I'm sure it would still work, not diminishing that. On the gaming front, he says he's been jamming on Star Tropics a lot, but the game he plays most with his family is Tetris, and then his all-time favorite is stalwart Super Mario Bros. 1. His gaming wish is a video game cart with all, in quotations, all sports on it, which, based on what we know in hindsight about how NES developers, like whenever they diversify on a cart, you usually get a bunch of shitty products, so I'm not faulting him for not knowing that or understanding that, but that is what I thought of when I read that. Like, whoa, would that have sucked? It probably exists. There probably is some sort of shovelware unlicensed something or other that tried to do that, actually, that we don't know about that's existing out there. So
at this point, they're not titles you would want to play. Sorry.
For sure.
You can get it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. If not only, maybe just like, oh my God, look how bad this is.
Yeah.
So as for where Homeboy is today, it appears shit got very tumbleweeds for him once Growing Pains wrapped up in 92, with the majority of his sparse credits between then and the early 2020s being named Jeremy Miller as the character name. So he's basically playing the Growing Pains kid probably in all those cases, and that's not exactly a career track you want to be on. But it does appear he's revitalized things a bit of late, doing some producing and playing characters that are not former childhood stars named Jeremy.
Nice.
So good for him that he's revitalizing his shit a little bit on the acting front. And then we close out with Next Time on Nintendo Power. Next month's issue will feature a Battletoads comic in addition to the game feature itself, your favorite IP of all time, The Lone Ranger, and then Vice Project Doom and Gauntlet 2 hitting the Game Boy. We have Howie's Dear Reader's Letter closing us out, and after plugging Battletoads a bunch, he actually tells us something of interesting here, which I teased earlier, about the Howard Nestor comic. Had a different art style this time, you might have noticed, he mentions. That's how he words it. And that is because they have a new artist drawing it. His name is Art Nichols of New York City, we are told. Lives in the big city. And yeah, he's in charge of this thing now, and he was already a comic veteran at the time, having worked a shit ton for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, since at least the early 80s. I was looking through his kind of credits and stuff, and it was at least then he had started. He was probably doing stuff before that that's not fucking represented on the internet. But very logical transition to Howard Nestor, as he had been the creative director for Valiant's handling of both Captain N and the Nintendo comic system. So he did those Nintendo comic deals that they had. So obviously having him start to do Howard Nestor was probably a very logical choice when they were thinking about switching shit up. And he actually just died, dude, on January 21st this year. So he just passed away. Saw that when I was looking for his comic credits. So R.I.P. Homeboy. He did a lot of really cool, obscure, by comic standards anyways, shit over the years too. He did Captain Power, which is a really cool action figure line. He did the comics for those. He did He-Man comics. He did Star Wars comics. In addition to, he did a ton of like really major fucking DC and Marvel books as well. He's never like, I think he did some Avengers shit, and like I saw Green Lantern in there, I think I recall, from DC. So there's like some really big things. And then it's a lot of kind of just, ancillary universe, Ghost Rider stuff I think I saw in there. Maybe some fucking Nick Fury, Daredevil type shit. So there's just a lot of stuff that he did. He also did a lot of like cool licensing things, like lunch boxes and shit like that. So he just did a lot, like a really diversified, cool career. So good for him. We will not end this podcast on a somber note about a storied comic book artist dying, as we now turn our attention to the Game Ep debate.
Introduction theme from Swordmaster. Terrible game, but great music bringing us into this section of the pod, which I think is going to be quite interesting because you've been all over the place this episode, and so I don't know where you're going to come in, what we're going to be talking about, what's going to get thrown on the table.
So for that reason, you should start us off.
Yeah, for me, I went with Totally Rad, Scat, and then TMNT2. And the reason I went TMNT2, obviously nostalgia play.
Like you have to tell us why you went TMNT2.
Obviously I beat it. I could have easily gone Power Blade, but I know I beat that too. I could be talked into that. So I felt like that would kind of be an easy one and probably an easy overlap. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I had Power Blade on my list at one time, but I took it off because other things ended up taking precedence, and I didn't want to have a list that was a mile long. But my nominations are RC Pro-Am. That was mentioned. I'm trying to think where the fuck that was mentioned. I think it was when they were talking about the rare. It was because it's rare. That's what it was. It was in the overseas developers. So RC Pro-Am. That's a fucking really fun racer, dude. And I think I'm
doing a whole episode on it. That's
it is a little light. It's a little samey, and I don't. It's Dig Duggy. It's one of those Dig Dug apps where we're just going to be talking about like. It's going to be a breezy episode, at least. That's nice. But fucking, yeah, there's not a ton of content, and I get that. But just as far as, like, playing the shit out of it, that's a really fun game. And I feel like it's such a stalwart that it's the kind of thing that deserves kind of that taking the time on a lesser content game because it's such a stalwart and so much fun, you know? So that's my logic there. It's not going to be a content-rich episode. We certainly aren't going to have any cool biohazard remediation fucking economic analyses or anything. But... It, I think, would just be fun for us to play, both head-to-head and on our own. So that, same kind of deal, Marble Madness. They talked about that and the thing, too. And that game, that game will be super light, but that game is so much fun. That game is so much fucking fun. It is so well done. Such a good fucking NES game. So there's that. Again, very breezy, but fun episode. And that's another thing we can play head-to-head that I think is fun because that game is, it's like, it's hard. It's fucking hard. So, like, a head-to-head playthrough, we would laugh a lot, I think, at each other's shit because it's a fucking fun, really fun head-to-head game. So those two are kind of maybe unexpected games on the list. And then I have Scat because it's fucking ninja options with...
Flying ninja options.
Yeah, flying ninja options, but artillery options with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sigourney Weaver. Like, great. Incredible fucking controls. Great game, super fucking good. We can play that together. That's a fucking blast, obviously. Our one-player playthroughs will be a fucking blast. Like, that's just a really good game, and will make for a great episode, I'm sure. And then last is Base Wars, for all the reasons that we kind of spent probably too much time on in the last segment. So, yeah, I think, you know, we always talk about sports games. Can't be ignoring these sports games, even though they make for weird episodes, I think. But that one has so much meat on the bone for that team stuff that I think we have more than your average bear to talk about, you know, and it's not just baseball. There's shit going on there, you know. So that to me is interesting. We could obviously play that as well. We already I don't know. It might be possible. It's not really feasible, practicality wise, to play like Dynasty type thing where we're both in. But it might be possible for us to both, kind of like the same way Tecmo Bowl, Super Tecmo Bowl, two people can control teams and you just, you know, the game comes on and you play it. And we could play games in the same league, and that's kind of interesting. But for that to really kind of pay off, you have to like play a whole season.
That's a lot of baseball.
Yeah, exactly. We're never going to get there, I suppose. But cool idea if it's possible. And yeah, the team management stuff would just be fun, I think. And the baseball's not bad. So that is my argument for that. Obviously, the overlap shit that we always say is a big reason to do something is Scat. And I don't think either one of us have any sort of argument against it. So if you want to just make it simple, I don't want to play Totally Rad. I'll say that. TMNT 2 is interesting. I expected you to nominate that. I think it's a good game. It's fun.
I feel like Marble Madness is kind of out of left field, but like even just pulling up a video of that and reminding myself, like, that's a fun game to play.
Oh, dude, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I think it so deserves our time.
Like, I don't know how much to talk about it, but it'll be fun to play.
Well, again, it's just like Dig Dug. I mean, yeah, again, super breezy episode. That's, I mean, RC Pro-Am at least. I mean, you're not going to talk about anything different between race 4 and race 40,
right?
Which I think that game does have a million fucking races. Marble Madness is just 4 levels. I mean, you can beat Marble Madness in like 6 minutes or something if you haul ass. So yeah, there's not a lot of content. I do think, honestly, Marble Madness, despite it being shorter, has more to talk about because those levels are like, there's shit going on there, you know, and you even have the one inverts physics and you're talking about everything you know is backwards with the one. So like you have shit to talk about for sure. And each level has, you know, parts to it that are their own little conversation. So, you know, Marble Madness, I think will give a shit to talk about. I'm just, again, from a purely fun standpoint, if you're down for Marble Madness, conversation over. Let's just do it because it's it's so much fun, and I think we'll make for a really good episode that we'll enjoy the shit out of. Because
all right, we'll break the overlap and pass on Scat this time, and I think
it'll be back. Scat will be back. I think Scat will be back. I do 100% want to play Scat, but okay, great. That sounds fucking great. That's a super breezy thing that we can have a lot of fun playing.
Nice.
Love it. So I love when we go back. I love when we're not just doing the new game. I love it. I love that we have that option to us, and I love when we can talk ourselves there and respect the craft.
I like it.
Yeah. So that is next. We will play Marble Madness on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And fuck, I didn't do the fucking power meter stuff. Aggregate for the issue, 65.57. So it's just a hair, 0.9% lower than the cumulative aggregate of Nintendo Power to date. So not a dumpster fire or anything, but it is below par. The highest game is Power Blade at 79.5%. We're going to go with the feature, not the now playing number. Yeah. And then the lowest was Beetlejuice, fittingly, because that game was terrible, 55%. So now Nintendo Power Issue 23 is behind us, and we will play Marble Madness. And then from there, we will get our April 91 Impartial Objectivity on, Game Pro number 21, screaming into our pod boxes. And you could subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by one of our dumbest company that does serve up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. Email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. The pod can be found on Facebook, Instagram, the subreddit with Reddit, and our YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes if you want to dig into our master list of it's up to like 400 and something videos now. I granted some of it's like redundant in that we have like segments or excerpts from the episodes, but between like boss battles and fucking couch co-ops and all the fucking episodes and the side quests and shit, we've like it's a million fucking videos. Just so. If you can't find any streamers after you watch all of Any Austin's Radiation Island playthrough, go ahead and jump over to that and start watching our fucking all our old videos. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like giving money to things podcasters tell you to, I'd like to do so in our direction. The Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities. That's cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is where you can find me, and that is my gamer tag.
I am on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. That is my Oculus tag as well. And then my Blue Sky is nyehentertainment.com, I think. Okay, bye.
Bye.